We're live. And ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
There are a lot of things to creep out in the middle of the woods.
You had it right there.
Hold on. Where? Oh, it messed up.
Okay.
My volume stopped.
There we go. That's okay. We're live anyway, man.
Is it like we should? But there's a group of men take on that great call. They face the unknown, darkness for us all. These are the stars of the legends they bring to life. These are the stars of the stories we tell late at night. These are the stars of the folklores. These are the superstars of the big woods. There are times they walk by faith and not by sight. Many nights of full is their guiding light. There are shadows linger in voices they hear. They love their job, do it without any fear. These are the stars of the legends we bring to life. These are the stars of the stories we tell late at night. These are the stars of the folklores. These are the superstars of the big woods. These guys don't get enough credit for what they do. They bring out
We're probably gonna move tomorrow.
imagination in me and you. These are the stars of the legends we bring to life. These are the stars of the stories we tell late at night. These are the stars of the folklores. These are the superstars of the big woods. These are the stars of the legends they bring to life. These are the stars of the stories we tell late at night.
All right, that'll do it. Everybody, welcome. Yeah, the video and the music didn't quite line up, but because I was coordinating, I was trying to hold one thing and it didn't work out the way I exactly wanted, but I think it was fine. So, so how's everyone doing tonight?
Fine.
Be doing good if it wasn't snowing and raining out there.
Yeah, I didn't know it was supposed to snow today. I was like, okay.
Well, it started about 11:30 this morning up here. It started drizzling, then it went into ice, and then it went into snow. But we got about an inch. Is about it.
Yeah, it was kind of spots of it here and there. I mean, it was more rain, and then the snow started picking up on and off. But yeah, that's all good. Yeah, me and Brianna, we went and saw a movie today, and yeah, it wasn't too bad. So.
No, we went to
Oh.
Before we get going, let me know how I sound. Am I making a whir or a echo or anything?
Actually, today it sounds pretty good today. I don't hear no extra noise and
Oh,
nothing loud coming from your end right now.
No, it sounds clear here.
So yeah, you sound pretty good, Leo.
Yeah, it sounds clear.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah. All right. Let me see. Well, we have. Hold on. So Cheryl, just out of curiosity, is Glenn coming in tonight, or just you?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Cause yeah, I shared him the link just in case. So yeah. Okie dokie.
Your future daughter's on his computer.
What?
I said your future stepdaughter's on his computer.
Alrighty then. Let me just think. Oh man, I don't know. I feel tired. I'm trying to drink my coffee and wake up, but I take it, Fred, you didn't. It was too wet to go out at all today, huh?
Yeah, it was too nasty. I just went out and finished putting my 307 stroker back together. I got the oil pan and everything on it. But I'm debating on if I want to take and pull that cam out and use the cam out of the 305, or just keep the cam that's in it because it looks like a brand new one, and just put new lifters with it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna try to go ahead and ask a couple questions, and we'll start it from there. Like I'm gonna use. I hope you don't mind, Fred. I'm gonna use you, and then anyone else could jump in after that.
Yeah.
All right. Basically, I just want to talk about. Let's, we've talked about it before. Researchers in general, the research that they do, so forth. All right. These are some of the questions I'm going to ask are very similar or close or pretty identical to what we've asked before. But yeah, as far as these are simple, basic questions. All right. First question is, as far as being a researcher, all right. Let's start off with what is a researcher to you, Fred Kenny?
A researcher to me is just basically someone who studies about Bigfoot, studies all the aspects on where it come from, how it began to exist, and then we go out and we start. Look, some people have luck, some people don't. Some people at the right spots at the right time, some people at the wrong spots at the wrong time, And me personally, from '81 to now, I've been seen quite a many squashes, and basically you never stop learning, because you're always learning about something. And that's why I do when I go. That's what I do when I go out. I mean, I go out and I go out and I do my areas in grids. Sometimes I'll go in the area and I'll spend one way doing this for a week. Then I might, jump over to going in and singing and hooting and hollering. Talking to them. Because I've been learning ancient Cherokee dialect. So I've been speaking out. And I've seen some reactions to what to when I speak it. There's certain things that I notice that they do when I do speak like that, But basically, you're learning. That's what that's one thing I explain. That's when you go out and research, you are learning, because, like I said, they leave you the information there. You just gotta have to decipher it, And everybody is not going to decipher it like I do. There's like a million ways that you can decipher what a Squatch does. But the bottom line is, for people who don't believe in it, if you go out, I recommend go out with somebody who's a researcher and listen to what he's got to say and start paying attention on how he says to do it. that, you will start to realize, hey, like going in the woods during hunting season. All right, common sense. You go in, you look for signs of deer. If you go in squirrel hunt, you look for signs of squirrel, and stuff like that. But you don't pay attention when when you go deer hunting. You don't pay attention to squatching. But just one old man told me, he said even hunting in his neck of the woods for like, he's the same age I am, 56 years old. He's been doing it all his life. But once he started getting into Bigfoot, he started noticing different things, and he said he was actually nervous when he started, because he started to see stuff in his area that he never really paid attention to. But he's fascinated at the same time, So when you go in the woods, always you're always learning, because you're always seeing something new. That's basically,
Now,
that's my thing of it.
now when
Go
people
ahead.
ask you about as far as different structures or different sounds that you might hear, that you affiliate with Bigfoot or in general, with what you tell them, do you
Um,
believe it's possibly no? Do you believe it's possible that it could actually mean something totally different or quite the opposite in maybe another region, perhaps? I mean,
well,
perhaps somebody else's belief, like.
I, I,
Yeah, go
I'll
ahead.
put it this way. All right, I'll put it this way. In your area, the squashes in your area are, because there's not that many people in there except for certain times of the year, because you got Braley's Pond, you got Elkhorn, you got Tams Lake, you got Stanton Dam up there, and you got people in there certain times of the
Right.
year, and you got campers in there during the summer. But you know you got mountainous areas, so there's areas that people been in but they don't stay in, so the squatches, they can be more verbal because they know they're not going to be heard. And in my area, I get, I hear bird sounds, and I know the sounds of every freaking bird and animal in my area. And like I said, there's birds that make certain sounds. There's a note that a squatch cannot hit,
Right.
and I noticed that, Well, like at night we was up there in your area, and we heard that massive barred owl let out that one big holler, and then about a minute later, right behind them, you had a higher pitched one, and behind that one you had a lower pitched one, So
Right.
they mimic. That's about the best word I can put. They mimic, and they use the mimicking as well, like at one day, me and you was up there. It was three of us up there. You and that other one person walked up one side of the ridge, and I went straight up that. Instead of going around, I went straight up that ridge. We heard something
Right.
between us, and I think I heard, because I was making all those horse nose when I go through there. I heard I heard a noise. Then I heard another one between you and me.
Right.
Then you heard those two knocks. So apparently they were communicating between us, and stuff like that, And maybe on my end they might have made a whistle or a sound that I didn't pay attention to. Then that's when the two knocks came, you know. So they mimic sounds for location, like, hey, he's over here with me, and stuff like that. But
Right.
that that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm understanding, But it's not the same. Every area is different. Like you had Justice Mayhaw's area. Like he said, when they had that guy up there and they camped him, when I heard the squatches around them, and they saw that one behind the cars, guys, and when the squatch started, and Justice Mayhaw said, they're coming to get me, they're going to get me. He was terrified. Then you got down to Texas with Rick Dyer. He didn't hear him. He said he claims he saw him. And first time he didn't see nothing, but a chunk of meat he was cooking got thrown in the tent, But there was there was no vocal. It was all, everybody said they heard this and heard that, So it's really hard to tell, But then you got the Gilman Patterson film, You got they didn't hear nothing. It's just on Gilman's part, he's holding the camera, and the way the video looks, it's like it's 100 yards away, but actually wasn't but 30, 40 yards away, So yeah, Patty come out, scared the hell out of the horse. The horse reared, he fell off, got up, stumbled around, and finally got a picture of it, or a video of it, So,
Right.
but there was no vocal sounds, So it's really hard, they're different in different areas,
Okay.
Like in Paul's area, they're different down there. They act totally
Yeah.
different, Hello, Mr. Halsley.
He's probably getting situated, connected. So
Yeah. But I mean, but that's the way I see it, and that's the way I'm thinking.
right. So so basically, all right. Like if you share it, like or if you're teaching somebody or explaining to them about your area, all right.
Right.
But okay, but yeah, like I said earlier, somebody like they went somewhere else, say another part of the country, and they asked the same questions about what they asked you, like. Do you believe it's a possibility that that you would give a different answer to what like some of the things that you experience? It might be have a different meaning elsewhere.
Yeah, it's like let's use Paul. Let's use Paul.
Okay.
When he goes into his area,
Yeah, you use me.
he's been working with them for a few years, so they're used to him, and they make particular sounds that only he can understand. I wouldn't understand it because I would have to go in. I'd be like a beginner in Paul's area, But he could say these are what the Squatches do in my area, and it would be a 360 compared to my area. So, in my opinion, they are totally different in each area. That is right, isn't it, Paul? Yeah.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
different. They're different. They're different in each area. So you can't say, well, I'll go over in your area and I might hear a whoop tonight and come in my area and I might hear a whoop tomorrow. That's like 50-50 shot, because mine are more quiet. Yours are more vocal.
Yeah. So I mean, actually, that bringing up a whoop, that's actually a good. I guess that's getting a little bit more specific. All right. We heard, we've heard them in my area. We've heard them in your area. But I mean, I guess the question, like, do you believe they both mean, or I mean, if they have a meaning behind them, do you believe they're both the same in your area compared to my area, for example? Or could could it just be a basic communication thing?
It's well, when they whoop, that could be a number of things. It doesn't mean just one thing. It could be a number of things that they whoop at. It could be they're scared. It could be they're excited. It could be they're warning. It could be a signal to another one. So like, hey, the deer's sneaking over here. I'm over here. Whoop. Like that. It's really hard to tell, because no one actually knows. All we can do is give our theory and our opinion on it. But when a squatch goes whoop real loud, it could be a warning. It could be happy. It could be sad. It's really hard to tell. But that's just me.
I'll tell you what I did. This has been few years ago. Is I put out the word to all researchers to compile photographs of structures and markers, and I posted X markers and other structures that I'd found, and you'd be amazed at the similarities on markers that came from Oklahoma, some from Washington, Arizona, I mean just Kentucky, Mississippi, some similarities. I mean, some of them were almost identical, almost like a universal, meaning, I guess. I don't know, but I know the ones that I had experience with in Oklahoma. They're much larger. They're just massive. They've got one up there, in fact, they call Gigantor, and he's throwing about a 22, 24-inch track. And I got a picture of the track, and it basically covers my whole chest down to my waist. It's that big, and he's been seen, by people, and then in Mississippi, they're real. The one I saw one in Mississippi, I thought was a black man. Very short hair, wasn't long hair, then of course ones here in Alabama, they're different, in their appearance. Ones in Ohio, they seem to be different in their appearance on their face, but they all have a common trait, and that's the large brow ridge. They all have that protruding brow ridge, and most of the males I've seen or pictures of or anything, have a beard. They're definitely different. I'm sure that they have different vocalizations and meanings. I know I've used Cherokee language to get responses out of the ones here in Alabama, but that's because that was one of the prevalent tribes in the state.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, right before you jumped on, I was actually using Fred as, part of the discussion to kind of open everything up. But, basically I was asking simple basic questions that, the common questions. As far as, we're talking, we've been pretty much talking about researchers and researchers' methods, and then potential evidence and stuff like that. But we didn't really get too far yet, because the first question I asked him, actually, basically, what is your opinion of what a researcher is? Basically, I think that was the first question I asked you, wasn't it, Fred?
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at my notes. Okay. Yeah, because I had another question that was first, but I didn't ask that first question. So yeah, as far as in your opinion, what Paul, what do you see an individual that's a researcher? I mean, what is a researcher to you? In your own words.
Well, in my personal opinion, everybody calls themselves a Bigfoot researcher or Sasquatch researcher, and a researcher does more than just go out and videotape. There's a lot of documentation. There's a lot of data that's got to be collected and then analyzed. There's more to it to research than just going out to an area and hanging out and seeing what you hear and then telling people what you hear or whatever. Right. To me, a researcher is someone that they're looking at the ecology. They're documenting what food sources are there. They're really, it's almost like a full-time job. I consider myself to be an enthusiast. I'm a Bigfoot enthusiast. I'm not really a researcher because I don't do it all the time, but I do document everything that I collect. I take photographs. I compare photographs, and I look. I got topo maps. I pinpoint, sightings. Reports. Document the reports. A lot of people take reports and they don't write them down. They don't document the report. They just say, "Oh, a fellow told me." Well, and then there's some people that say they're armchair researchers. Well, watching YouTube channel, videos and watching movies is not really research. If you want to research, I think you should, and that's just my opinion. I think you should be doing the same thing. You should be pinpointing where the sightings occur. The database that we have from the BFRO, that's research. Because somebody had to go out and collect the data, and then somebody had to file the data, and so to me that's research. But what I do is I'm just an enthusiast. It's a hobby. I love going out in the woods and camping, traveling all over the country, fixing to go to different places.
Absolutely.
But no one can actually say, well, here we've got data from Paul that shows over the past 10 years, that in this particular area there's been activity, there's been sightings, and these are the food sources. No one can do that because, unless I take that and document it, it doesn't happen. And so that's my personal opinion. I think the researchers are are the ones that you know, they go the extra length, you know, as far as that goes. That's just my opinion, though.
Okay. Now, I wanted to jump back to Corey. I know Corey, you've been listening. You know, you heard me start off with Fred, and then we got, you know, Paul shared his information. Is there anything that you would say otherwise on that, as far as a researcher, or is there, you know, on
Oh,
how you look at?
I agree a lot with what both guys said, especially what Paul said, is looking into the ecology, the food sources. That to me, that's research.
Right.
Not going out, you know, once a month with a camera and coming back with pictures that maybe possibly could be anything. But I think what you kind of need to do, as far as what I think research is, I think is also part of it too, is see what's presented, what people are presenting as evidence, and research that. And I think
Yeah.
you need. I think it also helps to have a somewhat of a background in the outdoors, because if you have somebody that only spends the time outdoors when they go squatching, they might not necessarily be aware of certain things. Now, I went out to just as an example, I went out to an area with a couple of local guys, and we came across a structure, and it was, to me, looking at it, having been a hunter for a number of years, I could tell somebody had gone in and built a ground blind. They basically laid
Oh
branches,
yeah.
kind of like a half a circle pattern, and you could see they were going to sit behind that to try to cover, you know, their cover themselves for anything that happened to maybe be coming in. Now, you might get somebody who's a Bigfoot researcher, strictly a Bigfoot researcher, and I knew right away looking at it what it was. Fred would probably know right away looking at it what it was. You know, anybody who hunts would know, okay, this is probably somebody's ground blind. But if you have somebody that doesn't have that knowledge, they would, if they were Bigfooting, it would be a Bigfoot.
Right.
And then different things like with the different sighting reports that you hear. Like one of the ones was that you hear a lot of times people were camping and something came into camp. So I think, you know, you research, you get enough of these stories, and through that, the thought was born that, okay, well, what if I set up a dummy camp? What if I set up a tent,
Yeah.
had a fire going, threw some food on, and then wandered off 50 yards into the woods in an area that I think something might use to come in to check out the camp? Because we've all heard those stories that somebody was camping and something came into camp and was watching them. So I think, again, like, research is you just have to look into things. I think you can't just take people's word on things, because, again, you have a lot of people that don't have a lot of experience in the field, and for them to say this is a Bigfoot structure, they built this as a shelter, but then you look at the pictures and
Right.
it's 5 branches. What is that going to protect you from? If it's raining, you're still going to get wet. Why would you even bother building it? A, because you want to remain, you know, you don't want people to know you're there, so why build a structure? And then B, why build a structure that offers you protection from nothing?
Right.
So that's where I think the research kind of thing, people need to kind of think and you know, go online and see what's presented and see what they get from what's presented and think about it. That to me is what was, I think, denotes a good researcher.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Um. Okay. Well, you know, another thing. Um. As far as evidence, and here's another question that we've all spoken on quite a few times. I'm going to start back to Fred now. As far as evidence that's potential or alleged Bigfoot Sasquatch evidence. All right, to you, if out when you're out in the field or when you're out exploring or you know and checking things out, what are the I guess you could say what's your list of evidence that you find that you would consider Bigfoot Sasquatch evidence, and then I'll follow that up with another question afterwards.
Look at the structures. Uh, look at how they're designed. Look at how they're twisted, snapped. Um, I look for tracks. Of course, everybody does that. Um, look for hair, look for food sources. Like, if we go out and do a deer kill, are you going to find a carcass? And if you find a carcass, can you determine if it is a squash or if it was a pack of coyotes or a wolf or a mountain lion, or something like that. Um, it's just different. You can't label just certain things as evidence. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you gotta you gotta pan through to determine if it's real or not real evidence. Like that, stuff like that. But but it all comes back to what areas you're in. You know, some places might be the same, some places might be different. Like me, I look for footprints. I look when I check out a structure. You know that I'm interested because I touch them, I feel them, I observe them, I study them. And I can determine if that was a squatch or not. Being an arborist, helps a lot too. On your wood and everything like that. But mainly it's the tracks, hair samples, structures. Uh, it's just. I mean, that's. I mean, yeah. There's a lot of stuff that I might miss because I don't particularly know about. I'm just going after what I know
Oh,
about.
okay.
Which would be the tracks, the hair, look at the structures. Look for kills. Like I say, if you like a deer kill, you find it.
Bedding areas.
Yeah, bedding areas and stuff like that. It just all it all depends. Like when I found like that fox I found. All right, it didn't. Everything from behind the shoulders back was flat as a pancake. All right, I found what looked like human teeth marks on both sides of it, and I found out it was thrown down to where I was at, and it was fresh blood. So apparently, it hadn't been there for over 20 minutes, or something like that. And but I can't say, well, that's definitely a squatch kill, man. Look where his teeth was. I look for puncture marks, like from a bear, any kind of predator's got canines. I look for puncture marks, didn't find any. What I do know is from behind the shoulders back, it was flat as a
Right.
pancake. So I can say something big got a hold of it, but I can't really say it was a squatch. So I can't say that, even though it was flatter than a pancake. So it's really hard to tell. But different people, different researchers, different people look for different things as evidence. That's it.
Okay. Now, uh, as far as evidence goes, what my next question is now I'm trying to be objective, or not objective, but I'm trying to think in the mind of a skeptic. Like, what would are these potential evidence? Are these things that we could rule out as other obvious findings from the field, or is there evidence? Is there something distinct or particular about these findings that we could say, hey, this is a Sasquatch?
No,
Or
there's
you know what I'm
no.
saying? Or is this
Yeah, there's no really.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, there's no really positive thing said. Yes, this definitely was a squatch. All we're doing, and
Right.
this is from the beginners all the way up to the college degrees that don't know their ass from hole in the ground. You cannot you cannot determine if this is definitely a squatch or not. I mean, I see structures.
Right.
I'm theorizing. Yeah, it looks more like a squatch, because you think of nature. Bears they can bend a tree, but they can't twist it. Nature. If we get a high enough wind, like a 200-mile-an-hour wind, yeah, it can blow trees over and twist them like a corkscrew. But you got to look at stuff like that. Look which way the wind's blowing. Like in my area, if I'm going from the Y at the Coal Roads all the way to St. Mary's, the wind is blowing from my right to left. So if we get high winds,
Right.
everything in the woods would be blowed from right to left. But I've got areas where right on the side of the dirt road where their tree snaps going left, going right, going forwards, going backwards, you know, and they're going in 360 degrees, on every structure, So you can't say, well, this is definitely a squatch, That's only theorizing. That's what it boils down to. It's all theory because we do not actually know.
Right.
But all we're doing is giving our guess and our
Right.
theories. That's it. That's all I'm
Right.
doing.
That's kind of like. Yeah. I mean, that's like a lot of what I do when people see me share things. I mean, even a non-believer or skeptic will be like, well, what's this that they're sharing? Well, it's not, it's I call it potential Sasquatch evidence, because some of the findings, and I do try to rule out natural causes, etc. But some of them just definitely stand out to be otherwise. It's like, well, especially when you see, like, we'll use a structure for example, the way something's formed or created. I know weather is capable of doing amazing, interesting things with trees and stuff. But same thing with other, known animals like bears, for example. I mean, bears have their limitation on what they do, but then again, you know, at the same time, when there's other things that are like, well, there's something more to this. Those are the things I kind of try to share, and let everyone, I post them for speculation and conversation, discussion, etc. But now, okay, I'm going to jump back to Paul real quick before I go to Corey again. Now, Paul, you shared something here. I'm going to screen share it. If this is potential evidence, you want to go ahead and discuss this here. Let me go ahead and pull it up on the screen for everybody.
Okay.
And let me do whoops, hold on, I'm messing up here. There we go. All right. So yeah, if you want to go ahead, this here, I don't know, just by looking at it, almost looks like another tree inside of a tree.
No, what you're actually seeing, I went yesterday
Like something
down
got thrown
to an area. I went down to an area yesterday that I've been researching. It's kind of what I call my honey hole. There's a group there, a large male, a female, and an adolescent, a young. And I've been going in there, I guess, probably about 4 years. And I took this other individual we see in the picture. I took him because I wanted to show him something. Now, what he's standing in front of is an Indian trail tree. The behind him is the main trunk. It goes up and then it goes to like a 90-degree angle, and then right straight up above it is two long uprights. And it looks, I know it looks like it's a tree in a tree, but it's not. That's one tree. And if you'll see the main trunk, you'll see the pointer, and it goes all the way down to a very fine point to the right. Now, what that points to is an old watershed. It's where at one time there must have been a settlement down in the valley, and there's a watershed, a spring that comes up, and they had built a small dam where they could control the water level. But the significance to that particular area is that I was kind of messing with these guys and doing the swapping things. I'd leave them a Cliff Bar, and they would leave me a quartz rock. Well, where they were leaving me the quartz rock, there was no quartz rock. I couldn't find any quartz rock. Well, it wasn't until I found this particular location where the watershed was that all of a sudden I found the quartz rock where it was coming from. Well, we're down in there and we're looking around, we're looking for tracks, we're looking for any kind of sign, and as we're coming back up and out, I stop and he stops behind me, and I'm just kind of looking off to my right, and then all of a sudden up above us to our left, we hear, just as plain as day, we hear a whoop, and I try and look at him, and he says, we didn't say anything. I said, you heard it? And he said, I heard it. So we both heard it at the same time, and so we walked back up to the trail that we came in on, And as we're going out of the trail, now I'm one of these kind where when I walk in, I'm looking down at the ground the whole time, just about, because I'm looking for sign. I'm looking for, if the leaves have been tuffled up, I'm looking to see if for a track. And as we came in, the trail was clear. As we're coming out, lo and behold, on the trail is a quartz rock, but not just any ordinary quartz rock. It's specially formed and shaped to hold in your hand and to use as like to pulverize or crush or break nuts. That's what I'm looking for. And we went to the normal area that I go to, and we get up there, and of course there was deer hair everywhere. And I took him to show him the first marker that I found in that area, an X marker. And I was showing him that X marker, and lo and behold, right there at the X marker is one of the deer legs. And the interesting thing about the deer leg was that, it was still soft. It wasn't hard. The bone hadn't turned hard. It was still kind of translucent looking. And normally, if that would have been a dog, it would have chewed the joint. It would have chewed the ball of the joint, because that's cartilage. It would have chewed that all off, but it wasn't. It was clean as a whistle. The only thing that had been cleaned off of it was the shoulder blade. It was gone. Then we walked back up to the carcass where the deer hair was, but there was no other bones. And we walked in the other direction because I want to show him this stone that's standing up vertical in the ground, this piece of sandstone, almost like a headstone. Right. And as we get to it, guess what? There's the other deer leg. Now, what are the chances of the first deer leg being at that X marker and the second deer leg being at what I call a headstone? That's kind of unusual. We then went back to an area where I called the old refrigerator. And the old refrigerator was standing up, and it had been in there for I don't know how many years. It's been there a long time, and I don't know how anybody got it back there, because you have a vehicle back there. Well, somebody had turned the refrigerator over and stacked a bunch of sticks up on top of it and on the sides. And as we're looking at it, he's thinking, this guy's with me, he's thinking, reckon the Bigfoot done this? And of course I kind of chuckled, and I said, no. I said, I can tell you who done it. I reached down and pick up a Slim Jim wrapper. And then as we look where the refrigerator is, lay on its side instead of standing up, you can see where he'd pulled the grate off the back of the condenser, and he'd put it up to kind of boxed himself in. And right there where in the middle of that was a cigarette butt. And I said, this is somebody turkey hunting. Because it's turkey season, or fixing to be turkey season.
Yeah.
And I said, they're turkey hunting. That's what they're doing these times. So, so what we had to do was we had to ask ourselves, well, is the evidence that we found, let's see if we can put this together. Is it possible that, this hunter, he's been hunting this area for maybe, all season. Is it possible that he could have left the deer carcass there, but why would he leave the front legs? Most people, when they shoot a deer, they keep the hindquarters, the front shoulders, and the back straps. So why would the front legs still be there? It didn't make sense. The hair and all was still there, but the only thing as far as bones go was the two front legs. But we couldn't say that it was definitely Squatch activity, but because there was a person in there, a hunter. But is it possible that the hunter carried one leg over to that X marker, that he probably didn't know what that was, or that he carried the other leg over to the, why would he have done that? So, and then when we go down into the other area and we get the whoop, then from that little bit there, we figured we were being watched. There are no other vehicles. Nobody else was in there but us. You have to really be there's a picture of a big X, and I can show you the picture. It's huge. It's 2 telephone poles basically. But I can tell you how that happened. There was a fire, and when the fire occurred, the dozers that do the fire breaks came in, and they hit this tree. And when they hit it, and they hit it hard enough, it started falling, but then the top section broke backwards. And when the top section broke backwards, it fell in the crook of another tree, just like that right there. And so many people took pictures of that, thinking it's a Sasquatch X, a marker, and it's not. It's explainable. And so, when I look at evidence, I have to look at it. First, I want to see if I can debunk it. If I can figure it out. If I can't figure it out, then I have to, my deductions are made by, the time of year, the situations. I mean, I don't just, everything I see is not Bigfoot. Tracks. I mean, I've come across so many tracks out in the woods, but yet these are places that are national forests that hunters frequent. And most of you hunters wear now what's called muck boots. And muck boots are pretty good size, pretty big foot. And if you step in pine needles or soft moss, you'll leave an impression in the ground that some will probably look at and go, "It's a Bigfoot track." You got to learn how to tell the difference between them. And so I don't just necessarily the Bigfoot evidence is rare. It's not just, and these markers I showed this guy, these markers, I mean, they're years old. They're not fresh, they're not new, they're old. They've been there a long time. And I'll shoot you some more pictures. I'll shoot you 3 more pictures of an X formation, and you'll see how it lines up and how to know what to look for. Because a lot of times people see blown down stuff and whatnot. It's really explainable, and they all automatically say, "Well, that's a Bigfoot." There's more to it. You gotta be a little more
it's funny that you. Yeah, it's funny that you're talking about boot prints. These are certain kind of boot prints. Well, I've seen these boot prints from hunters and stuff in like mud and stuff, and yeah, I mean, either they're big guys or just have big feet. I mean, I've seen boot tracks over, I swear, 20 inches long, 18 to 20 inches long. I mean, but they're pretty distinct. They're boot tracks. So yeah, I have seen. Like what you were just talking about, large impressions in like in the leaf litter and stuff like that. But what's interesting is finding the excuse me, the large impressions that where you can see toes. Those are the ones that I get excited about. I mean, I find, like I said, I've seen plenty of large impressions in the ground, in marshy field areas, and like I said, leaf litter, etc. But yes, the ones that definitely display the toes. All right, and while I'm getting ready to go ahead and pull up those other pictures that Paul's sharing to me, Corey, I'll let you go ahead speak on what pretty much everything you heard, and you can share your opinion on everything.
Well, I think, I mean, to me, and I've said this before, that it's kind of unfortunate. I don't think that I'm overly skeptical. I don't know if I'd call myself a skeptic more so than I just like to question things. I guess that would make me a skeptic. I don't know, but I've said this before after having been involved in this for a few years, that it's unfortunate that a lot of the stuff that people call evidence presented by people in the Bigfoot community has actually made me think that there's a chance that they exist even less, because there are alternative explanations to things. And like Paul had mentioned, muck boots. Somebody could come along and find a 20-inch print. Now, the person wearing these boots didn't have a 20-inch print, but they might not know that if you step in mud when it's soaking wet, when it dries, it shrinks and expands. So you could have I wear a 12-inch boot when I'm hunting. So my 12-inch print could then be 15 inches long, because I stepped in the mud, it dried out, and it expanded to make it look a lot larger than what it was. That's why, again, like I said, when it comes to being a researcher, I think you have to kind of be up on all these different things. But again, like I said, I just think a lot of the evidence that I've seen presented by people in the Bigfoot community has made me actually think there's less of a chance that they exist. That these are the people out there doing it, and if somebody was going to find something and come out with something good, it would be those people. Campers in the woods that have an experience where something comes into camp, they're not necessarily researchers. But when you have people that say that they're researchers and aren't researching, because I've had people present stuff and I've asked them questions. Did you check for this? Well, no. Did you look for this? Well, no. Do you know anything about this? Well, no. So you're just basically, let's go out and find something Bigfoot related in the woods, which you could probably do at any time. I've seen countless stick structures. I've found a few remains out in the woods. I mean, the thing is, if something dies in the woods, everything that lives out there is going to come and take a bite, and the remains are going to be spread out over a pretty large area. So, and one of the things that Paul mentioned about, the whole thing with the gifting thing that bothers me is that, to me, if you're into audio, recording audio of a Bigfoot, get a good audio recorder. If your thing is getting video of a Bigfoot, get a good video camera. Same thing with pictures. Now, my question is when people say, I have a gifting tree, you hear that all the time. I leave out gifts. And I've asked them, did you ever think to put a game camera on it? Well, no. Well, why not? If I was to leave something in the woods, I mean, game cameras were originally developed for hunters to know, are there deer in this area? Now, to me, if you're going to put out, a bag of apples or bacon or whatever it is and not put a game camera on it, I think it's irresponsible to then come home and say, I think a Bigfoot took it. They have to realize there's other animals in the woods besides Bigfoot, and a lot of them do like to eat meat or apples or whatever it is that you left in the woods. So to me, if you're going to do a gifting thing, put a game I don't have a game camera. Then don't put gifting stuff out and then come back and claim that it was a Bigfoot that took it until you can buy yourself a game camera. It seems like the Bigfoot community, people seem to like things or like processes or the way of doing things that are then left open to interpretation. Their own Bigfoot-minded interpretation. And that's kind of one of the things that bothers me.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Okay, I've learned over the years, and I've used game cameras. I know what they do with audio. They sniff it, they observe it. But from what I've seen, they know what a camera is, because you can take a game camera and put it in the woods and leave it for 3 weeks. And 99% of the pictures you take, that critter is looking at the camera. Even though they got some camera says, oh, it does not show it's got the red, infrared or something like that. The deer, whatever critter they catch, is looking at that camera.
Oh, I've seen that too. Yeah, the camera triggers. I've seen a lot of pictures of that. I've seen some cool pictures.
Right.
Deer in a.
But why do you think? Why do you think no one has ever gotten a picture of an actual Squatch standing in that front of that camera, within 40 foot of that camera?
Because I'm leaning toward the opinion that they just simply don't exist anymore. Now, the only animal we can't get on game camera is Bigfoot. The only animal that we can't get on game camera is Bigfoot.
My opinion and theory is they know what a camera is, and from what I've heard from talking to a lot of Indian tribes, they're like, if they get their picture taken, they get their soul is stolen, or how to say it, their soul is taken from them. and they're scared they're going to die. That's one theory that I got from a few Indian tribes. But my opinion, they know what a camera is and they know how to avoid them.
Well, but that kind of leads me to think that, okay, they know what a camera is.
And they know how to avoid it.
Yeah, but they know what a camera is.
Right.
They know what its function is.
Right.
If it's whirring noise, it clicks, and then somebody that put that camera out there has an image of them. So they know what photography is?
No, Squatch don't know what photography is. Squatch knows, all right, a Sasquatch is they've lived in the woods all their life. I mean, they're raised in the woods all their life. You could take and lay a quarter on the side of a tree. They will spot it. They will find that quarter and realize that that's not supposed to be here. They're very observant creatures.
Right.
Anything that's not natural, they immediately know.
Well, what about, but that kind of to me begs the question of what about, like Paul was mentioning, leaving candy bars out in the woods. They know what a game camera is.
As he said, he left a certain fruit from organic and left a certain fruit from I think a store or something. Come back, the organic is gone, but the store bought one is still there.
Well,
So they know what organic food is.
But my thing is that if you have an area where there's no apple trees anywhere whatsoever, and if they know, oh my God, it's a game camera, this doesn't belong here, that means people. Oh, but here's a pile of apples. I live out here. I know there's no apple trees, but I'm going to take those, and I'm going to take those instead. See, to me, you can't have it both ways. Either they know we're out there and we're looking for them, or they don't. So, to me, like I said, if you're going to put bacon out, bacon doesn't naturally occur in the woods. So if you're going to put a pile of bacon out or a candy bar, they're going to know enough to stay away from that, but not stay away from a game camera. See what I'm saying? Well, how it seems.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Corey. How often do you go out in the woods?
Well, during the winter, not very often, but if I get my sighting report, well, yeah.
I'm talking about any time. What is the longest you stay out in the woods when you go?
A week normally.
Okay, a week normally. All right. What do you do when you're out in the woods?
Camp.
Okay. What else do you do?
Camp.
No. What do you do while you're camping? It's simple. What do you do what activity do you do while you're camping?
I pretty much sit, read a book, eat, go to sleep.
But you do not leave the camp, right? I mean, you might go to a swimming hole and go swimming and maybe walk about a half mile up a trail and back, right?
If there's hiking trails in the area, I'll hike, yeah, for a few miles.
Okay. So you cannot say that when you go out in the woods, you don't ever think about it. Well, let me walk around and look for signs and see if maybe, just out of curiosity, if something's, if it might be a bent tree or might be a pile of rocks stacked or might be something odd looking, You don't think about that, do you?
No, because to me, I need, like, when I've gotten reports, I'll go out and do an investigation in the area, but it's just, I know that, somebody could send me a report and say, I found a bunch of bent trees. But then I could go out into the area where I go hunting normally, and it's surrounded by highways and major roads. But I know I can go up in there and find bent trees. That's why you could go out in the woods at any time and find something, and you could then turn around and say, oh, I think it's Bigfoot.
But when you go out, when you go hunting, what's the only thing that you're really concentrating on? If you're going deer hunting, you look up scrapes, trees, rubbing and getting the felt off for horns. You look for food sources and stuff like that, right? For deer, and then you go for squirrels, rabbit, turkey, whatever, But you never think about seeing something and ignoring it. You'll see something that's interesting, like, I don't have blah, 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 blah. Wow.
Well, no,
What's
but
that
just to
third
me, I'm
dollar
not
call?
always Bigfoot minded every time I'm in the woods. See, that's the problem, is that you get people could go to Central Park who are Bigfoot minded and find something that they thought was Bigfoot related. If I'm out Bigfooting, then I'm looking for evidence. But if I'm in an area where I know it's probably not, like I said, where I go hunting, it's probably only 5 or 6 square miles and it's surrounded by major highways. Now, to me, I doubt that would be a place where a Bigfoot would go, and I've been going to that same spot for 20 years, and I've never. I mean, if I'm walking down the trail and I find huge footprints, well, of course, then all of a sudden my Bigfooting mind is going to trigger. But I'm not always thinking every time I'm in the woods.
There you go. You just answered your own question.
Uh,
You just answered my question.
how's that?
What you just said. What did you just say?
That I'm not always thinking Bigfoot.
Thank you. You just answered the question right there.
So you're always thinking Bigfoot.
No. I don't always think Bigfoot. I got it on the mind, but I'm very observant. I'm a tracker. I look for tracks. I study them. I observe. You observe them. I study them. I'm thinking, all right. I know what a human footprint looks like. But this one looks kind of familiar. Looks familiar to me. Deer, bear, turkeys, even squirrel, possum, coon. It doesn't make a difference. I'm a tracker, and I learn to observe stuff like that. So when I'm walking through the woods deer hunting, I'm always looking for signs. Half the time they don't make any sense, but at least I'm out there thinking, okay, could this possibly be a squatch? Because you got to think how strong they are. You have to think how much strength it takes to bend a tree to get it to stay in a position. Me and my brother tried to debunk a pine tree that was big around as a softball and 20 foot high that was bent over a trail, and the nose of it was touching the other side of the trail. We found a tree right next to it. We tried to he climbed up it, and when he went to bend over, I grabbed his foot, and I was pulling him down as he was walking along a tree to try to bend that tree. Well, we got it to the ground. As soon as he let go, that tree went right straight back up again. So you got to expect it takes a tremendous amount of strength to do that. And I can tell you, you got to have at least over 100-mile-an-hour wind, or you have to have a very strong critter. Because a bear can bend a tree, they can break a tree, but they cannot bend it to make it stay in one position. That's what people don't think about. When you go squatching, look at the trees, observe them, study them. Look how the rip is in the wood. Look at the tears in it. That would tell you right there. That's what I do when I go in. When I see a structure, I observe it, I touch it, I look at it. I think, what critter could be doing this? And that narrows it down between a bear and a Sasquatch. True, a bear can push a tree over. If it's dead, they can push it half. They can snap it in half, or they'll uproot it. You hear a limb break. All right, a bear can go up and smack a limb and break it, but they cannot take and grab it, break it, and twist it. It takes a thumb to do that. So you think about that. A bear can't do that, But see, like, there's a lot of things that you got to look at and you got to think about when you're out there squatching. Besides, anybody can find a track.
Yeah.
Like I went up my area, I found a boot track. Now, at first I said, "Ooh, that's a juvenile squatch." Then I started looking at it real close, and I started seeing ridges. Okay. Then I noticed that it had a heel. I said, "Wait a minute, that's not a footprint. That's a boot print." But it was 5 inches long, and I looked at the shape of where the toes were supposed to be, and it was round. You see where the heel was, I was like, that's a boot print. Because I started seeing more and more of them. And chances was it's probably like well, I did run into a father and a couple of boys, about 5 or 6 years old, coming out of my area. They went for a hike back there, But it's just stuff like that you got to look for. You got to observe it, look at it, touch it, think about it. And people do not do that. They think just because they see a tree bent, oh, it's a squatch. Not really.
Yeah, I think when it comes to as far as between tracks and structures and tree bend, I think the whole, with trees and structures, that could be very debatable or controversial, trying to, determine one or the other. But I think it's, on my opinion, when as far as comes to evidence, pinpoint more towards, okay, this is not human. I think it's, for the most average outdoorsman that is familiar with wildlife, I think the observer track, like what you were just explaining, Fred, you were able to tell that was a boot. Plus, it's pretty obvious if there ain't no toes involved either. Because, I think a track is probably, to me, and other people may not agree, and that's fine. But I think to me, a track is probably one of the most closest bit of solid evidence beside, in the field. Especially if you can study it and observe it and know that it's okay. This is not a bear, especially if depending on length and size, and then also the arches and everything and so forth. But yeah, I think in my opinion, I think tracks are probably as far as evidence wise, is the ones that we could more easily rule out other subjects, but don't get me wrong. I personally, I'm very familiar with bear tracks. I come across bear tracks all the time, fresh and old, and I even seen the double step bear tracks, and a lot of them are very distinct. They show, the evidence that they're double stepped, two tracks in one. And some of them can be a little tricky, they could fool you, but yeah, when I find my squash tracks, I believe it's safe to say on my part that I believe I know what I'm looking at. um, and then even in like what I think Paul was saying about the
claws too.
well, yes, a lot of them do, and then I've actually found bear tracks that don't have claws either. I think it depends on how they're stepping and if they're going up or kind. But I think it depends on the soil as well. But yeah, I've seen quite a few bear tracks without claws. But yeah, that's I just wanted to throw that in there. I didn't mean to interrupt, between Fred and Corey or nothing. But yeah, anyone else on the panel want to kind of jump in and throw anything in there? So I see people in the live chat talking about the game cams again.
Well, if
but yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Those pictures I sent you, that's just some of what I'm sharing as far as what I collect as evidence. The first three pictures I sent you was showing a log with two smaller trees standing up vertically, in which when a person looks at that, you don't think much about it. You just look at it. Yeah. Now the significance
to this
you're
talking about right here.
Yeah, those are cedar trees, in which only thing that's in that area is hemlocks. There are no cedars. And but when you look at it, when you first walk up on it, you just think somebody leaned a couple of trees or something against another log. Well, then when you show the next picture, you kind of, and this is how I do it. I take and I look at the two logs to see what type of tree it is, which, like I said, they were cedar trees. One was longer than the other one. The other one, one on the right was longer, and one on the left was shorter. And I looked at those, and I really didn't understand what I was looking at until I got in the right position. Now I'll show the third picture.
All right, here we go.
Now, do you see when I got in the right position, You see it? All right. It creates, first thing is the tree that's to the left that's kind of at an arch, and then you have that one right there.
Yeah.
And then you have what forms the X, that's the log, and then the two that were leaned up against it. You see them. All right. Now there's a tree in the center.
Oh yeah. Now that's the one that's growing there, though, right?
Yeah, that's what's growing there, and it lines them up.
All right.
Okay. That's the marker. That's you have to get in the right, and that's actually 3 different trees. They're not all together, but when you get in the right position, they all line up, and it forms a picture. Well, that's a directional. It's almost like the crosshairs on a rifle, and it's pointing to the top of that ridge. Now this is in Bankhead National Forest. All right, now you'll see another picture that I sent you of a smaller one, a smaller X with the center tree.
All right, this one here.
That's not it. No, that's not it. Go up. That's the big one I told you that the fire loggers, that's how they made it. Keep going.
This one
is right there. Okay, yeah. All right, that one right there. Click on it. All right, here you see the same similar formation with the X and a center tree. Now, that big one came from Bankhead National Forest. This one is 100 miles north at Waterloo National Forest. Now, there you see the similarities in the formation, the shape. You know, here you have the X with the vertical, and again, that's like crosshairs on a gun. It's pointing to a certain direction. I actually found an X laying on the ground in Waterloo that you could lay a compass on top of it, and it matched perfectly north, south, east, and west. You know, I sent you a picture of a map of Bankhead National Forest, and in that picture you'll see a bunch of blue dots. Well, those blue dots represent sightings. Now, do you see a pattern? I see a pattern.
It's like almost like a travel route.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, you know, and that's the sightings that have been reported just in Bankhead National Forest, and you see a pattern. You know, I mean, that's what I do. You know, and even when I find tracks, I put down dollar bills because a dollar bill is 6 inches.
Yeah.
And so in order for me to give scale, I can put down a couple of dollar bills like I did on that track. Picture that track I sent you. I've got that track on my wall. It's about 18 inches. And you know, I do that for scale, also documentation. But I also sent you a picture of Gigantor's footprint. I'm holding it, and that's in Oklahoma. And so, you know, I mean, if you're going to do research, you've got to document. Yeah, there's Gigantor.
Holy camole! Damn, Paul, that right there. Now I'm taking a guess here. I'm guessing he's over 1,300 pounds.
I don't know. I know that's a big
How
footprint.
tall would he be?
I'm thinking about 12. That's a big footprint.
That's the biggest one I ever seen in my life. Now the biggest one I've seen was 20 inches, and that was over in Shoe Creek. But I didn't have enough plaster to plaster that one.
Well, you can see me holding that one for scale.
Well, if I could, what
Yeah,
size
that's definitely interesting.
what size shoe do you wear, Paul?
I wear a size 10.
A size 10, and how tall are you?
I'm 6 foot tall,
6 foot, 6 foot
200
tall.
pounds.
Okay,
Yeah.
and how big is this print?
It's like
That
about
print,
almost 20 inches, ain't it?
that's about 24.
24.
Oh,
So,
wow.
22 or 24. Yeah,
so that would
it's
be
about 2 foot.
15 feet tall, based on a
Oh,
standard
my.
of your shoe size. I'm 5'10". I have a big foot. I wear about a size 10 and a half or 11. But so you're looking at something that's that tall.
Well, you guys,
My husband wears a 10.5, and he's 4.
yeah. Well, you gotta expect the reason they call Sasquatch Bigfoot because their feet is exactly large, like a 7-inch footprint could be on a 4-foot tall squatch, which I've seen before. They got their feet look big, look like clown feet.
You guys all got
Whereas
baby feet.
Well, the thing
Well,
is,
my foot,
but the thing is,
my foot's 7 inches long, and I'm like 5'4".
but the thing is, you got to realize too is that the actual term Bigfoot was coined by a news reporter talking about the Ray Wallace story that actually proved out later to be a hoax. So we're basically using a term.
No, it wasn't Ray
that
Wallace.
turned out to be
It was Jerry Cruz. You're wrong. It wasn't Ray Wallace. It was Jerry Cruz.
Oh, Jerry Cruz, yeah, the
Jerry
road
Cruz.
guys, yeah,
Jerry Cruz is the one that had the footprints.
yeah, the
Yeah.
carved wooden feet that his family showed like a few years after he died. So we're basically basing the term Bigfoot on a fake case. It's not because they call him Bigfoot because they have big feet. No, they call him Bigfoot.
But no, it was because the reporter that when he was looking at the tracks, he said, "Wow, what a big foot!"
Bigfoot, and then it turned into the word.
And that's how it started. I mean,
Even like Sasquatch, the term Sasquatch isn't an actual Native American term for what you would call a Sasquatch.
no, it's Canadian and it's actually Sasquatch.
You know, or Sasquatch, I guess is the term.
Yeah.
Sasquatch
Again,
is our.
Some local reporter talked to a local tribe and said, "Oh, we call it Sasquatch," and he said, "Oh, Sasquatch." I guess that's what he wrote down. So then it became. So even that term is incorrect. So
But what I don't.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
No offense.
yeah,
No offense, Corey, but what do you call a box of tissues? You call them Kleenex.
Yeah.
Whether they're Kleenex brand or not, you call them Kleenex.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
So
yeah, because
that's
I know the name.
name now. I'm just saying. No offense, I'm just saying.
No, I hear you.
Yeah, because I know the name Sasquatch. Like you're right. It originated. It was a reporter actually declared that name to be Sasquatch, to actually refer to in the plural sense, multiple, more than one. I guess is where he based that term from too, as well, along with that name, the Sasquatch Canadian term. When he was actually doing his stories and stuff. Yeah, instead of just calling one Bigfoot or Bigfoots. He actually, pretty much gave that term Sasquatch.
Yeah, and I just
more of in a plural sense, if that makes any sense. So.
I just have to say that I hate that term Bigfoots. When I hear people use the term many Bigfoot.
Yeah.
To me, I think Bigfoot works for singular and plural. If you have many deer, you call them deer. If you have one deer, you call it a deer. You don't call them deers. So whenever I hear anybody use it drives me crazy.
When you say deer, when you say deer, that can mean one deer or a herd of deer.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, you can use that one term for singular. It's just whatever. When I used to watch Finding Bigfoot, Matt Moneymaker, Bigfoots. I hate that term. I hate that term.
Well, what? Would it be more politically correct if we say big feet? Look at all the big feet.
Yeah,
Nah.
it just sounds better. Use the term Bigfoot for singular or plural. Yeah,
Right.
just a pet peeve of mine. That's all.
I agree with that too. Bigfoot's sitting right, but Big Feet isn't
No.
correct
Yeah.
either. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, hey, I just got something here. We're talking about the feet and everything. Steve Peck, I'm surprised he's not in here, but he's saying he says you can't judge height on foot size. He says Shaquille O'Neal wears size 23, and he's 7 foot tall. He says Yao Ming wears size 18, and he is 6 inches taller.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually interesting.
Yeah, and that
But you know, then again, I think it could vary. Like, you know, I'm 6 foot tall, and I mean, normally in most size tennis shoes, I can wear like a size 11. Like my boots, most of the time when I get boots, I have to go up to a size 12. You know, and I fit them very comfortably.
Well, it depends on the weight too. I'm 5'10", I weigh about 2 1/4. Now, if I was to walk outside and step in mud,
right,
I would leave a certain size print. Now, if somebody is 5'10" but they weigh 105,
right,
their print would probably be smaller because my foot splays out more because it's displacing more weight when I step because I'm heavier than the 175-pound guy. That's why I've seen different formulas. You know, people have said if you find an 18-inch print, it's this tall. If you find a 20-inch print, but it's just there's so many different variations that it's really hard to say.
Yes, but
right.
you can get a decent estimate. You know, you wouldn't be feet apart, but you know, within a foot, you still can get somewhat of an estimate.
Oh yeah,
on that.
Yeah, you're not going to necessarily get somebody that's 4 feet tall that's gonna, you know, that wears a size 15 shoe. Yeah, naturally, no. I mean, it's a general idea, but it just my whole thing with like the height estimation, especially when people see one out in the woods, they say 15 feet tall. You know how big 15 feet tall is? That's like really, really big. That's 2 Andre the Giants, 15 feet tall. So that's why height estimations, weight estimations, I have to be kind of circumspect because a lot of people have a hard time judging that. I do myself, especially if you're in the woods. You know, it just seems like I think people tend to overestimate some. Because if you come back and say, I saw a 5-foot Sasquatch, it's not as impressive as I saw an 11-foot Sasquatch. So you got to take that into consideration too.
Well, Fred sees 5-foot Sasquatch, big feet, big foots. He sees a lot of
you know,
that aren't
question really is
that aren't that tall.
The question really is, you know, how, you know, evidence, and you know, how are we gonna, you know, what have we got and how are we showing it? And of course, I'm showing you some pictures. I just sent Daniel a picture of a trackway that track came from, and you can see that where the individual actually stepped over a cucumber mound. That stride was about 5 feet, and that's what I'm talking about now. You know, now if I was to sit Corey down and say, okay, Corey, here, I'm going to show you some evidence. I'm going to show you what I've got. Then I can show Corey the trackway, pictures of the trackway, the measurements, the dimensions of the track. I can even show him, you know, everything as far as that goes. And then if I want to show him, markers or whatever, then I can. Daniel says he lost his connection. Then I can show Corey, you know, these photographs, and I can show him a map, and you know, and as far as like once that's been presented, then he has to make up his mind from there. Yeah. And then he'll say, well, you know for a fact this is Bigfoot. And I said, well, no, I don't, but this is what I suspect. Mm-hmm. And then I show that to him. and then he makes his determination from that. But I can't make him.
Like Daniel had mentioned, tracks I find kind of I don't know if I should say impressive, but the most interesting trackways. I find them because they're a little harder to fake, they're a little harder to misinterpret, especially if they have toes. But the thing is, he showed some pictures that you sent him, Paul, of these, the structures leaning up certain ways, and you would mention, I found one here that looks like this, and I found one so many miles away that looks like this. I could go up in the area where I go hunting here in Massachusetts, in the Tantasqua Reservation, and find one, and depending on that looks just like that, and depending on what side I'm standing on, look, it's pointing toward the pond. That's why I think those are. I wouldn't say throw all that stuff out. Keep it in mind, but I wouldn't personally myself dwell on any of that stuff because I've seen thousands of those sorts of things. I mean, there's all those.
Take picture one.
Well, they're gonna stack up. I've seen some where they look like there was 15 tree trunks, branches, all look like a teepee. Now, either somebody built it, or one fell, another fell, something else falls, catches on one of the other ones, then another one falls, so eventually you end up with this basically like teepee frame-looking structure. So for me to say that, hey, I went into the Tantasqua Reservation in Sturbridge, Massachusetts, and found this, and it looks exactly like one somebody found in Ohio or Texas or Alabama or Georgia, to me that's not proof because you find those in the woods all the time. But like again, I will say, like I'll agree with Daniel, tracks I find the most interesting because they are harder to fake. They can be faked, but they are a lot harder to fake.
Yeah, talking about teepees, I just happen to have this one up posted. Now this here, you got the standing pine tree right here. And when I came across this, I was coming down, I was walking up a small hill, and I noticed this actually stood out to me right here. And it's actually combined by 1, 2, 3, and 4 different trees. And I found it just funny that they're actually connected to a limb that's standing out from this pine tree right here. And what made this more interesting, unless, like, what you were just saying, Corey, unless these fell the way they did, I found it pretty interesting. Because right next to it was this little one, about less than 2 feet away.
But the thing is
and this also is made by 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, but the thing is, when I say fall, I don't mean, because I've said that before, and then I go, oh, all of these fell at once? No, one fell and leaned up against the tree branch on the tree. Then 6 months later, another one fell, landed up against those two, so now you got 3. Then 3 weeks later, the windstorm came through, and a couple more fell and landed up against the others. It's just like I said, to me, I've seen a lot of stuff like this. So to me, they can't all be Bigfoot unless there's some other compelling like footprints in the area. There's been a whole bunch of sighting reports in the area. Like Paul had shown his map, there were 14 sighting encounters. Now, to me, my opinion, I think about 95% of the sighting reports are bogus. So if you have 14 sighting reports in an area, to me, only 2 are worthwhile. So to me, that's not a pattern, just to have 2. So
this right here, this is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Impression of what percentage would you give to sighting reports being accurate?
As far as sightings, well, I mean, if I was to go off of mine, like what personal ones that I've actually gathered throughout the last, let's say, 3-4 years. To make that, if I had to, make judgment on that, because I've done a few reports as far as actually physical sightings, not just encounters, but sightings themselves.
Okay.
I know I took one from a mother and daughter who were riding up a mountain road, and I know they almost went off the road when they saw what they saw, and they actually had to go back up and turn back around to come back to get another look. But when they came back down, it was gone. That was not far from me either. But that was just one of them. I mean, I personally, if I, not knowing these people too, I mean, these are people I don't know, so it's really hard to make a safe assumption. But I felt at the time when they were sharing this information to me, and I was trying to investigate the area. I was I was believing them. Yeah, I don't want to say I don't want to call them liars. I mean, so it's hard for me to actually make that really, make that
Okay.
statement. But just from the ones I've gathered, but overall, just from the number of history reports in general, hmm, I would probably say, again, this is my opinion. I would probably say 60% are accurate. I think you got the other 40% that might be maybe they were seeing something else, or they were trying to BS around. But yeah,
Okay.
so I don't know if I feel safe kind of saying that statement, but you know,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean,
yeah,
we all have. I mean, I've read, of course, from my area in New England, I've read all the reports on the BFRO site, which seems to be the big one that everybody goes to. I've gone to it myself, but the thing is what you have to understand with a lot of those, at least in my area, the whole follow-up investigation was a phone call.
right,
They sounded legit. I could make up a story, and you could call me on the phone, and you would think it was legit.
yeah,
So to me, you have to disregard those. Did the person go out to the area to do an investigation? Well, no, he lives too far away, so all they did was just call him on the phone one night. Oh,
yeah,
wow. You're going to publish those as actual sighting reports?
right,
Sounded legit. There's a lot of people that sound legit that I'm sure that are full of crap.
yeah. Now, like
But
one of
they
the
are
reports,
reported sightings, though. Whether they're true or not, they were reported. So you can put that in the list of reported sightings. The BFRO can. Whether it was true or somebody telling a tale, it is a reported sighting.
Oh, I agree.
You know.
These are reported sighting. I would just rather see more of them because they'll post. This is what the sighting report was given to us. Here's the follow up. Bob called him on the phone and talked for 20 minutes. Thought it sounded legit, and then they publish it. See, to me, I've said this a bunch of times before. I just think to be taken more seriously, I think we need to set a higher standard. But that's the BFRO, and they're, you know,
Okay, you got people. You got people. Okay, you get someone comes in there who's gonna be looking for Bigfoot. Okay, there with a fancy vehicle, got all this equipment and everything. The people are gonna be hush hush. All right, takes a while. Might have one say, "Well, since you're here, let me tell you what happened to me." And then the guy says, "Okay, I'm out fishing one day, and I get this god awful smell, and I look around it and see nothing. Well, 5 minutes later, something catches my eye across the pond there, and I'm looking thing, and I know it wasn't a bear because I hunt bears. So that's my report. What I've seen, I know it was taller than a bear, and it wasn't a bear because it walked on 2 legs. Now, what you need to do is you need to go to where that guy had that sighting, do a comparison, and work at it that way. That way you can tell if he's telling the truth or if he isn't.
and that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, to me, again, like I said, a follow up report isn't a phone call. I could tell you, I could make up a story, repeat it to 10 people on the phone, and they'd all think I was legit because I could baloney them into believing that it was real.
Well, here's the thing about it. I've got a lady in my area. She's 79 years old. She lives by herself. I met her at the library one day, and she said, "You're one of the Bigfoot guys." I said, "Yeah." So I give her a call. She said, "Please come out to my house." I went out to her house. She took me through her property and showed me everything. And she had an audio that I listened to. Something was walking by her kitchen window, and it banged the house. All right, she was terrified. So when I went over there the next day, I saw 10-inch tracks. All right, I asked her questions. I says, all right, how did this sound? She said, what I heard walking was this is the way she put it, thump, 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 walking by her house in the back. Now this lady was traumatized. She's like, it scared the living crap out of me. You could look at her face, you could tell by her voice. She wasn't bulling around. But she gave me the report because she knew who I was after I started talking to her. But most of the time, small town people don't tell of their Bigfoot sightings because people think they would be crazy, so they don't say nothing. But when you do get it, you've got to listen to them. What I do is listen to the tone of the voice and look at their face, facial expression. That tells you everything.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, definitely. Yep, I can agree with that.
Now, this kind of goes back to all the evidence, and that we were talking about earlier, and carefully, this is one of the other questions that I was going to get at. I never did get to ask for everybody, and this goes with as far as our findings, and when I find things, these are things I have to ask myself when I'm finding something or observing something. And it goes for everybody else, but are we ruling everything else out? Like for example, this kind of what made me think about to bring this up was what you were just sharing with us, Fred. This lady, she's an older woman, and there's no denying that she heard what she heard. And the thing is, she was scared because it was unknown to her because she didn't know what was out there, but she heard something out there. So it dramatized her. I mean, it kind of frightened her.
I'll tell
But
you
then
where
at the same time,
I'll tell you
yeah, go
where she
ahead.
lives. You know where the furnace is out there on Mount Tory Road,
Yes, yeah,
going towards Sharonda?
right. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
Go about
on
two
the right hand
houses.
side coming down.
Yeah, go about 2 houses past that.
All
Right
right.
ahead
I know
on the
on the
same
right
side of
hand
the road.
same side. Okay.
Yep.
And that's right there that's right there where the whole national forest is, right there. Nothing straight forest behind her.
And that's Turkapin
Yeah, because
Ridge.
it go. Yeah, you got nothing but forest on top of forest behind her. Yeah, well, I mean, okay, I know where Fred's talking about. I know the area, but then again, it's like that poor woman. She didn't know what it was. She was scared. So, but then again, you know, it's something definitely worth investigating to do a continued investigation to see if there is something ongoing occurrence. And I'm not just saying in this year, but if I was to gather something like this here, if I was to gather something like this, and depending on details of what the individual is sharing with me, if they can't give a more of a description of what was out there, as far as what was seen, I would try to look for other evidence, see what it would lean towards. Like maybe she heard a bear, but then again, I've been close to bears. I've heard bears. Bears wouldn't, as far as I'm concerned, unless it was, unless the creature or subject was walking on like a back porch or something by a window,
Yeah,
then you would probably hear that.
she does have a bear.
Huh?
She does have a lot of bear and everything, but they stay up there behind us. When they cross, they don't come in the yard. They stay behind her. She's got like a little picket fence at the back of her property, which separates her property from National Forest. And the bears stay. She says she's never had a bear come in the yard, in the backyard. They always stayed on the backside of that fence, traveling.
Okay. So the subject wasn't up against her house. She still heard the thumping, the walk steps further back.
That particular night, she heard something walking
Hit
by
the
the back
house.
of the house, and it hit the house. And I went up there the next day and I found tracks, and they was about 4.5 to 5 feet stride on them, give or take. I still hear
Has she
from
lived
her every
there
now.
like her whole adult life, or
Yeah,
is
she's from that area.
is she?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's from that area, and she still keeps in touch with me and everything. But she says she's only heard it maybe 1 or 2 times since then. But she she she
All right.
Maybe they'll
it
go
could
on and leave her alone. I hate
it
for
could be.
any little old lady to be scared.
All right.
Yeah, she says it hasn't really. She hadn't heard anything in a while, So you know.
All
Good.
right. But then again, you said how big were the tracks again?
Uh, about about
You
8
said
to
around
11
what,
inches, give or
10?
take. Yeah, 10 or so. Yeah, anywhere in that category. Because I didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
tape measure with me.
Oh, okay. So you're basically just more or less estimating as far as the stride and
Right up,
and everything else.
right. Using my foot,
Okay.
I wear a size 9, a little bit longer than my foot, probably about an inch or two or something
Hmm.
like that. Give or take.
Cause see, oh yeah, the only reason I'm asking this detail to kind of get a better idea or a better picture, because the biggest stride I ever seen was in a picture, and you could tell from judging from the picture they were about between a 5 and 6 foot stride, but the size of the tracks were around 17, 18 inches long. So that's why I have seen a 48-inch stride, but the tracks were around 13 inches long. So I estimate the subject had been at least around 6 foot, maybe. Yeah, maybe six. It could have been 7 foot. That was actually in your area, Fred. Just it was actually a road crossing. Uh,
Okay.
which I judging from where I found the tracks. Yeah, it was the subject had just crossed the road, so it was actually pretty interesting. So that's another thing I try to take notice, like as far as stride, I've been trying to document and measure stride. Like if you look at some of my pictures, if I see multiple tracks, you'll see me measure, and I try to show that to people how I'm, trying to figure everything out from heel to heel, um, and then this, and plus the size of the track to kind of give everybody a better picture, idea, like, okay, well, we don't know really how tall the subject was. We could estimate, but most of the tracks I find that with strides, I mean, I have seen strides probably within human range, but like 3 feet. I mean, I measured my own
Well,
at a normal comfortable walk, and that's been about anywhere from about a 24-inch stride, which is 2 feet, and maybe almost 3 feet, but no bigger than that. But I average about 24-inch stride at a normal pace walk.
Yeah, because
And
most
I'm, like I said, I'm.
yeah, because
Yeah, go ahead.
the most average stride is 27 inches for a person 6 foot
Yeah,
tall.
yeah, because
That
I.
depends if
my
you got long legs or
Right,
short
yeah,
legs.
because.
my question or comment though
Go ahead,
is,
Leo.
okay, say you've got a Bigfoot crossing a road. Um, he knows it's a road, or she knows it's a road, and they probably were gonna hurry on across. But if you're walking around somebody's house in the dark and you're not in a rush, you might take smaller steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make
You know,
sense. I would agree. Yeah,
yeah,
I
if
agree with
you're in a
that.
rush, you're making bigger strides than if you're just dawdling along.
Yeah, because I was going to say that if you're running, the stride is that much longer.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
you have to take that into
Yeah, because
account
I
too.
believe. Yeah, I think even a subject, let's say hypothetically thinking, if a subject was 8, 9 feet tall, That's big. The way I look at it, yeah, like what Leo was saying, if the subject is not in a hurry and they got like 15 to 17-inch tracks, but your stride why can't even their strike could be within human range too as well? I mean, I believe it's possible that they could be at 24 or something inches, and I've heard a lot of people say, well, they see pictures of certain trackways that people show, and I was like, well, that's human. I think a lot of people always ruled a lot of them out as human, but then again, you know, I wish I can understand why, because it would be more easily hoaxed when they're closer together. But you got these massive tracks, but I believe there's some truth behind some of them where they could be authentic, you know. But then again, the last set of tracks I've seen, they were about 17, 18 inches long, and they were about 5 to 6 feet apart, and that was in very fresh snow, and and the snow was only about 2 or 3 inches deep, and you could see where the heel, where the subject was stepping, you could see the fresh snow like kicked up behind as you step up out of the snow. Um, Now, like I said, I think it may vary on each subject. I don't think the height always depends either, but I don't know. But I was actually blown away when I was showing this trackway. So, but yeah, like Bobby Rich said, they don't call it Bigfoot for nothing. That's right. So, um, wait, um, yeah, but overall, the thing is, when it comes to evidence, when things we find, it's always important to try to rule everything out. That's what makes it exciting. If we can study our findings and definitely try to rule it out. That's what makes the mystery and the research fun, and exciting to rule out everything. Say, even if we do find something that's okay, well, hey, you could find out if you could find out exactly what it belongs to, even if it's a bear or any other known animal or even a human. That should be exciting. That hey, you could figure out this is human or this is bear. You know, if we could study what we're finding and rule out everything that's obvious around us. That because there's the areas I go to. I know people go there. And I go. There's times I do go pretty deep and high up on high ridges. There's some areas I know because some of the areas I go to, they're hard to get up to. But I got to think of it, man. I made the effort to get up here. It wasn't easy getting up here, and I can't say other people haven't been here because hey, I made it here, and I'm not in the best shape in the world, but I've done it. And I still do it. And like not long ago, I was way up on a very high steep ridge, but I made it up there, and um, so it's hard that we don't want to be able to think like when we find tracks that clearly show a humanoid track, and but then again, when you're deep in the woods, I believe it is safe to say that this ain't a human, unless you got Mick Dodge living in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, if it's the middle of winter time and you've got 14 or 18-inch barefooted tracks, it still could be a human, but the chances are not likely.
Yeah, because there is that now, the extreme, what do they call it, extreme running thing, but where people actually run barefoot. So if you find a track that's 10 inches long, this much of a stride, if they're running, the stride's going to be long. The 10-inch track isn't out of the realm of human possibilities. But yeah, if you look it up online, it's like extreme running where people run in the woods, on trails, on the roads too as well, which I think they're crazy, with no shoes on. So that's something else.
Yeah.
Again, like it's all part of the research thing. Like I had mentioned before, they make those running shoes now that actually have it looks like a glove. Each toe goes in like a little pad. There's those too, and people have said, oh, it couldn't be a person, and I've posted a picture of those toe shoes, I believe they call them, and they're like, oh, I didn't realize such a thing existed. That's when it all research.
Yeah, they were like like a toe shoe or something like that.
Yeah, it basically almost looks like a glove you wear on your foot. And
right.
It's got a spot for each digit on your toe. And I've seen where, and they said, oh, and there's this weird pattern in the bottom of it. And somebody went and found a pair of these toe shoes, and the pattern matched up exactly.
Yeah, I've actually found a track like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I first found it, I was like, "Holy crap!" You know. But then I got to look and I said, "What is this?" Then it dawned on me. I figured out what it was. That was up in Pennsylvania. Now, when I spent like 2 months in Pennsylvania about 5 years ago, and I was like, okay, and it wasn't on a trail, but it was not far from a trail either. So apparently that runner or a walker or whatever, they must have been running or something. People like to jog on trails and stuff, but they must have gone off the beaten path just a little ways. Made a little loop around to get back to the trail or something. So yeah, I was able to rule that out because it had almost like in the middle of the track, it had like this V-shaped oval looking design in the dead center, closer to the heel.
Exactly. So that was like the I was talking about, because there was like a V pattern.
Okay.
And they're like, "What is this? I don't understand what this is." And somebody went and found a pair of shoes these toe shoes that they showed the bottom of them. It looked exactly the same. So then they even, geez, I didn't realize like this, something like that existed. I mean, you can't search everything. It's just something you have to come, just hear about or see on the news or whatever. But, and just to throw this out there, a lot of times when I'm camping, I don't wear shoes either.
Yeah.
So there's that. I went on an expedition, and a couple of the guys they saw me walking around the campsite with no shoes on, and they were flipping out. "What are you doing?" "What do you mean? I'm out. I can get away without wearing shoes. I'm in the woods. What's the problem?" "Oh, well, geez, we could come across a print, and it could be you." And it's like, well, come on, guys. I mean, so there's always that possibility. And in places I've gone camping, I've seen people out walking and hiking with no shoes. So you always saw.
Well, Fred could agree with you on that one. Ain't that right, Fred? Your cousin, when we all camped up there, your cousin stayed at the campsite, but he was barefoot the whole time he was up there.
Yeah.
I think Fred's froze up.
Yeah, if I can get away with it, I don't wear shoes when I'm out in the woods. If I can get away with it, if the terrain's not that bad, I don't wear shoes. I just find it more comfortable. So there's also that. But then if you get into something, like you were saying, 4 or 5 foot stride lengths, you had that picture put up earlier. I kind of found that interesting. Big print, stride. I'm like, oh, I don't know about that one. That's interesting. So I'm not one just to scoff at everything. I know people are thinking he scoffs at everything. I'm not.
Yeah. Well, Fred just threw up his little message there. He's breaking up. So I think it's the weather in our area.
I was saying y'all were breaking up.
Oh,
yeah, because like when Corey was talking good, and all of a sudden he just like breaking up, and then you started talking.
Oh, well, me and him, I think we were hearing each other pretty clear though.
Yeah, Fred breaks up a little bit, but it's everything's everybody seems to be pretty good. Fred breaks up a little bit, but I think probably everybody does. Because, you're online on a computer talking to everybody, so I mean, it's bound to happen.
Well, right now.
Well, we've had rainy, snowy weather here, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's snowing and raining here right now. Yeah, it's snowing and raining here right now, so. But people have got to realize, during the summertime, I go barefoot during the summertime too, but when I go in the woods, I find barefoot tracks in laurel brush is so thick that I got to get on my hands and knees to walk through it. And if you go on national forest, like in my area, you're crazy for going barefooted because we got buku of rattlesnakes. So so it's not very common. Only time you see people barefooted out in the mountains is when they're at the camp. Otherwise than that, they got boots on or shoes on or something like that.
Oh, that's very true. Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm just saying it. I think it's something. You know, why would somebody be on this trail with no shoes on? It has to be Bigfoot. People
Well,
hike with no shoes on sometimes.
yeah, I can understand being on a regular trail, but when you got footprints, like my area is, I got laurel brush out there. Yeah, I mean, hell, my area is nothing but laurel brush, and I'm finding tracks in the laurel brush thickets where I could get on my hands and knees and walk through. So, and I'm not finding human footprints. I'm finding bigger, wider, and heavier footprints. So I can rule out humans in that part because ain't no one gonna walk through 6.5 to 7 foot high laurel brush thicket where you got to take a machete to get through there, and they just walk right through it, no problem. But a human cannot unless you get it. Because put it this way, that's how thick it is in my area. But I can see on a regular hiking trail, but when you go off trail, like back into my area or into Daniel's area, you know, no. Even with people with toe boots, ain't gonna go that way. There's no reason why they should, unless they're ginseng hunting, which I doubted, and everything, you know. But you know, people, you know, when you see a track, you've got to look at it. You've got to study it. There's a particular way a Squatch walks, and the way he lays that foot down and everything. Like, you know, when the Squatch walks, they do not straighten their legs up. They always got a bend in that knee. That's why when they run or walk, you can put a level on their head, and that level will stay perfectly still while they run or walk. But a human, when they run or walk, we're constantly bouncing up and down. And the way their foot's designed, what's that word called, Daniel? Tarsal break or something like that?
Mid-tarsal
break.
Yeah.
It's not a break. It's not a break. And Jeff Meldrum has already said he wished he'd never used that term, mid-tarsal break. It's not a break. It's a flexion.
Flexion. There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, you know, and
flexion.
Yeah, you know, and you got to look at that too, you know. And
well, that trackway that I sent Daniel a picture of, they're not in a straight line. You can see where it stepped over a cucumber mound in a garden.
Yeah,
and it's not in a straight line. I mean, it's.
Yeah. Let me pull that up real quick.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that's not necessarily in a straight line, but you can see where it's stepped over.
Yeah, because I got
that's about at least 5.
Yeah. I can see the tape measure. Is that a tape measure between the last two tracks, Paul?
He's talking
right
about
there in
this
front
right
of that
here.
tree where that cooler is.
No,
is
that a measuring tape?
There was something in the photo, something like a marker or something like that. The actual trackway goes.
I got
goes just like it's going steady straight, but
the
stride from the heel and the way you measure it is from the tip of the toes to the back of the next heel. To get the stride length, and that stride length was almost 5 foot.
Yeah, that looks about I was just about to say that looks about 5 foot.
Area, and they're walking in a straight line.
But it stepped over that cucumber mound, which any other animal would have just walked right through it. But it didn't. It stepped over it, and that was why I thought it was interesting to take a picture of it.
Yeah.
Well, at least he respected. At least he respected that plant.
Yeah.
See, I find that interesting. I find that interesting. See him clearly. There's a big stride length. Yeah, I think that's interesting. That's interesting. I like that one.
Yeah, because the trackway I got in my area, they're walking heel to toe, one in front of the other, but at different stride lengths, And I find that on you because usually a person walks, his foot's on the left and then his foot's on the right, kind of like, kind of like this one right
Well,
here.
not necessarily. I mean, models, runway models, they walk a straight line.
Yeah.
They walk a straight line. Is it impossible for a human to walk in a straight line like that? No, it's not. That's not the impossible part. Is it impossible for a human to have a 4-foot stride? No, it's not impossible for a human to have a 4-foot stride.
Yeah.
The interesting part about that trackway was that second track was so deep. I mean, it was 2.5 inches deep into the soil. So that was pretty. But what that individual had done is it had come across a piece of property and it crossed a chain link fence, and it got after, or it got a rabbit they had in a pen, and it tore the end of the pen open to get the rabbit out, and but didn't leave any hair, no blood, no nothing on it. Don't know how, but it didn't. Took pictures of everything, and this is what I'm saying. If you're gonna call yourself a researcher, and you're gonna say well, here's what I found. Here, show me some pictures. Show if you find a trackway that's in a straight line, take you some simple all-purpose flour, and each footprint you sprinkle it onto each footprint, and then you step back and you take a picture of it, and you take a measurement between each one of the tracks, and you take a picture of it. Then you got something to show somebody, like Corey or myself or Daniel. But if you're not doing that, you can tell me all night long what you find, and I'm just, you're just talking. I mean, show me some pictures. If you got some tree bends or tree twists or whatever, check it out. Make sure the tree doesn't have some kind of fungus or disease, and that the wind blew it, and as it was falling, it twisted. I haven't found the first twist, period. I found breaks. I can show you pictures, and I'll do it one night on a show for Daniel. I'll show you a nest. I mean, I'll show you what it looks like. And you say, well, how do you know that's what it looks like? You can look at it yourself and make the determination, what it is. But we have to be more thorough on our documentation if we're going to get people to believe us.
Yeah.
And so taking pictures, I've got pictures I could show Corey. I got pictures of this trackway, as it was poured, as the tracks were pulled up, and as they were cleaned off. I can show I can put them in his hand. Yeah. I can show him pictures of where it came across the property, crossed over a chain link fence. I can show him the pictures where it was underneath the tree and it had broke some of the tree limbs at shoulder height. I mean, and documented, that they're shoulder heights, about 5.5, almost 6 foot off the ground.
Yep.
But until we do that, then it's like Corey said, you're just telling some good stories.
Yeah. And that's what I want to see more, because I found a trackway. How many? 50 prints. Here's one picture of one track. Well, can you see why I'm kind of a little dubious about what you're giving me?
I hear you, brother. I hear you. I ain't complaining.
But yet you found a 1/2 mile long trackway. See, that's my issue. I like the way you're doing it, because you're like, document every. Oh, I only took a picture of the best one. I want to see them all, even if they're not great. I would like to see them all. But that's kind of one of the problems. And there's been talk in the Bigfoot community for years and years and years and years, and it always seems to come from newer people. Hey, we need to set a standard that everybody's going to follow when it comes to research. If you find a trackway, take pictures of every single one, take measurements, and it's never worked, because you have too many people that find one indiscriminate foot-shaped impression. They take a picture and go, look, Bigfoot. Like, it's in a muddy area, and you've only got that one print. So, like I said, again, I've said this before, we need to set a higher standard.
I agree.
Yeah.
If we want to be taken seriously.
I agree. Even in your audio captures, I mean, if you tell me you had whoops, you tell me you had tree knocks, you should be able to play me back an audio.
Yeah, 'cause I sent Paul an audio, and he picked up something that I never even heard. Remember that one that you said he got that growl?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You have it.
I
That's
never
because you.
heard it. That's why I was sitting under the tree. I kept making a bunch of noise. You could hear me working my, you know, I was opening a pack of cigarettes and stuff. And
You're
you said,
smoking.
yeah, and then you said, did you hear this? And you played it back for me, and it would say, I got growled at from behind me. I never heard it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was there. There was a growl and also a kind of a snort or a cough. And it wasn't Freddy. It was. But that's what we need to do. I mean, if we want to be taken serious, if you say, well, we were in the research area and we had wood knocks, then if you're a researcher, you should have had a recorder on you somewhere going, and you should be able to play me back the recording of those wood knocks or the whoops or whistles or whatever it may be, instead of you just telling me and going, well, we got tree knocks and whoops and wood, you're going to have to, or either have a witness, so the witness will confirm, what you're saying. But what's happening is we're getting all these people that are telling these extravagant stories about how, that one guy
I
was
I also have another audio recording that I can't find. I mean, I left my audio recorder there. Matter of fact, to put it in the exact same state. For about 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, I got a whoop, like on the other, like up toward what that way, and I heard 3 tree knocks, and it was just as clear as a bell. Find that audio anywhere. But that was back in 13 when I got that. It was interesting though.
Well, you should still be, whenever you go to the woods, you should still be having a recorder, turning on as soon as you get out of your vehicle.
Yeah, I got.
I mean, you should have all the stuff that you need.
Military jacket, I put it on.
Yep.
Even like I said, carry a little. You can buy the little small bags of all-purpose flour at Walmart for like $1, I think, or $2 maybe. Put that in your backpack, carry it, and if you find a trackway, just lightly dust them, and they'll show up for a picture. But you're going to have researchers. If you're going to call yourself a researcher, then you should be able to put down your work. Yeah. And Corey should be able to look at it, or I should be able to look at it. If you don't have anything to put down and show me, then you're just an enthusiast, and that's why Richter says we're glorified campers.
Well, and that's like I was saying earlier. If your big thing is audio, and your best audio recorder is the recorder on your cell phone, or if your whole thing is I want to get a picture of one, but your best camera is the camera on your cell phone,
I've got an audio recording.
Video, I would try to get the best video camera I could buy.
Yeah. Well, I got some audio. Yeah, I got some audio that I sent Paul one day. And it was some drumming that I got in my area. Now, Paul, me and my brother and a friend of mine, we tried to debunk that. The drumming that I heard when I left the audio out there.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about the one that sounds like where they were banging on metal.
Yeah. We tried to debunk that. I put my brother and a friend of mine in 2 different places all right, where my camp is, about 300 yards up is the gate to go into Turkapin Ridge. I mean, go into Kennedy Fields. And then sent a friend of mine back about 300 yards back up in the woods with 2 pieces of metal pipe. And I got them started banging at the same time. Nothing sounded like it. It was way off in the distance on both of them. And I'm like, so we tried a couple more tricks, we walked up in the mountains.
Like, what about?
We couldn't find no metal nowhere. And now I sent that audio to Sharon Day, and she says, if you still got the audio, Paul, slow it down 50% and listen to it. You will hear talking.
Now, what about the possibility of, like, did you guys experiment with the the cast iron pots and pans that you use at the camp?
We
to,
tried
like, see if that you might have been.
Well, yeah, we tried everything. Plus,
maybe
this was, you know where I put my tent at the camp, and that little trail goes up. All right, I went back behind the trail, back behind the tent about 30 yards, and tied it to a tree right there, and I left it overnight. And
yeah, didn't you tell me that there's some kind of a cell phone tower or some kind of, it's got a chain link fence built around it.
Yeah, we have
that's a little further up.
Yeah, that's about a quarter mile from the camp, but that's about 200 yards off the road, and that's before you get to Kennedy Field. So if they was to knock on that, it would be the only way you could hear that knock would be with a parabolic dish. That's how far that is away. And then you go, the next gate is at the apple orchard, which is about a half mile away.
Well, now, the clip I listened to and the clip I edited, I did slow it down, and I did hear, and to be quite honest, it sounded like somebody in your kitchen cleaning out pots and pans.
Right.
Like they were dumping out, pop, 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 and then you'd hear the talking.
Right.
But on the original footage, I didn't hear that part. It wasn't until I enhanced it that I was able to pull out that part.
Yeah, because I lit Leo here last night, but they couldn't really quite hear because I didn't know how to get it over to share it. I couldn't, because you sent it to me. You sent it to me back in a was it MP3?
Yeah, I've heard it before. You played it to me before. You sent it to me through Messenger about a couple years ago, and I've listened to it. I used to have it downloaded. Actually, I used to keep those different sizes. It used to be on my old phone. So,
I think I still got it.
I used to have one.
I think I still got it. I put everything on a hard drive.
Yeah, because
external hard drive.
Because when I started listening to it, I remember the time because I left it there about 5 o'clock in the evening, and it was about anywhere between 2 and 5:30 in the morning that those bangs happened. Because I got to the camp at 8 o'clock. And it said, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 15 hours, give or take. That time. So I'm just taking a guess.
Well, it didn't sound like pots. It didn't sound like somebody's banging on a pot.
Blew my cookies,
And if it was near a camp area and there were other people that were camping there, which, if that's the case, then I have to say, well, it could have been campers, and they were just that morning eating breakfast, and they got through eating breakfast, and they were cleaning up their mess.
Right, but there was no one up there.
Well, that's where you need to be more thorough on your documentation and take a picture of the campground, find records or whatever to prove, what you're saying, because otherwise, like Corey said, you're just expecting us to
I got a boatload. Yeah, I got a boatload of video on my camp. Because when I get out of my Jeep, I get out and I turn the camcorder on, and there's my camp right there. You know, so because behind my camp, I got to walk through my camp to get back up in the woods. You know, so it's always looking at because you got one, two, three. There's three camps right there, and right there you got one across the road and two on my side. And when this happened, I was up there camping by myself. I think I was by myself. I can't remember if it was. Yeah, I think I was by myself because I left.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's been so damn long ago.
But yeah, like just like what Paul was saying. I mean, as far as
yeah,
you know, you got to consider: is there a slight possibility where you didn't realize it, but your recorder was out recording, regardless of how far it might have been, where you had just got done eating yourself and didn't realize you picked your own, you were cleaning out your own, pots and pans, from after cooking there. I mean, could that be a possibility right there? I mean.
No, because from what the recorder was saying, it was in the wee hours of the morning, like it was still dark. It was like
I know, like when I set my
it was after midnight. I know that much because I set the recorder up and I put the rest of the stuff. I put the rest of the stuff in the back of the Jeep, and I went on the left and come back the next morning.
Okay. Oh, okay. Because I know what I do when I place my recorders out. When I go ahead and turn them on, as I'm recording it, I turn it on. I look at the time on my phone. Okay, it's say for example, it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll state the date. That way, when I get something, if I pick something up on audio, okay, I see what hour or length time it picked up. So okay, it was like 2 o'clock this time in the morning. That's when that's why when I share my audio, I'd say, okay, this happened at 2 o'clock in the morning, because I know from the time I started it, and it's only so many hours in. Just 4-5 hours in. Or so.
Yeah, I usually do that, but I think this time I just set it up and left because that's what I was using. That's when I first started using this thing right here.
Right. Oh, okay.
This is because I had this sitting on the ground right there behind the camp. That's what that was in, But usually I'll say this is Freddie 59100. It's now such this time, such this day. But I didn't that day apparently. At least I don't think I did. I can't remember. But it was interesting though, because I tried to, I tried a few things that Paul told me to try, and we tried to debunk it. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's always interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't.
I mean, I know.
I can't say it was definitely a squatch banging and a squatch because when Sharon told me to slow it down and I slowed it down, I could hear a male voice, then I could hear a female voice. That's all I could, that's what, and it to me, the way my hearing is kind of a mumbling type talking. You can hear it, but you can understand it, but barely understand it.
Yeah.
That's about close as I can remember. But
I know.
It was, because there has been a lot, that part of the national forest was in a civil war. You got the ore mines back at St. Mary's that they used to make cannonballs in Sharonda at that furnace. And all the CC trails back up through the mountains were made by prisoners of the Confederacy during the war, from what I found out.
And iron ore also, I can't think what the word I'm looking for right now, but puts off a vibe or something that some people are more sensitive to than others.
Paranormal.
And it will give you a paranoid.
Yeah, I've had
feeling.
Yeah, I've had a paranormal group up there, and they went crazy over there. They said, "Man, we pick up EVP." They were doing EVPs all over the damn place. Oh, okay.
There's a lot of stories of people seeing Civil War soldiers and then or recording them, and then there was nothing there again. You know.
Yeah. But you
like
know,
a flashback in time or
yeah,
a
but you know,
residual. That's what they call it,
yeah,
residual.
yeah. But on the other hand, you
That
know,
they just keep doing it over and over again
so,
in another.
yeah, because I've let other people listen to it, you know, and they said, you know, could have been a squash banging on a pipe. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't know, you know. Paul says he played it one way and heard it sound like one with pots and pans. All I knew is when I a couple hours after I was listening to it, I heard metal on metal pipe. That's what it sounded like to me.
There were
Then
parts
Paul,
of it that did sound like, yeah, somebody banging on or tapping on a chain link fence post.
exactly. That's what it sounded like to me. So that's why I sent my brother up to the gate, because we use copper pipe, a pipe about that big around. We used two of them, and got him to start banging on them. Then I got a friend of mine the same distance back in the woods, banging on his pots and pans, and you could hear them, but they was like off in the distance.
What kind of gate is it?
Because it's you know the pot metal that you use, you know, like on National Forest, they used to. It's like a single pole that goes across the road to block it.
Hey, did you try tapping on it?
That's what I had him tap on. We got two pieces of pipe, and I sent him up there, and he started banging on that gate. That's the pipe I was telling you about. He's banging on that.
Oh, I thought you meant he was banging the two pieces of pipe together.
No, that was my friend. I set him straight up behind the camp by 300 yards, and he started banging on pots and pans, and or taking like a big spoon and started banging on a
Well,
cheap pot, you know.
did the
So,
the
but
original recording like iron frying pans or like tin pots or like those old
Tin pots.
ceramic coated tin or whatever? Could
no,
you
it's just
tell?
no, you know,
Sound
like
like tin pots?
you know that you can go to Walmart's or Kmart's and buy like a set of pots and pans, the cheap stuff.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like. But it was
Oh,
interesting. I mean, a lot
but
of people.
not aluminum.
No, you know. But a lot of people, you know, a lot of researchers I've talked to, or paranormalist researchers, they say that they've had cases where they've thought they heard squatches in the area, then they heard squatches like they might have picked up some pipe, you know, like someone's camping, they left some something like two pieces of shiny pieces of metal pipe or something. They get them, and maybe they could be walking through the woods banging on them or something like that, you know. Hell, anything's possible, you know. But you know, it was interesting, you know.
Yeah, like this link I did.
Had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, this link I just shared to you. This came from Fred Candy's area. This is audio I picked up, which I had my audio recorder probably a little further back than where Fred had his. Mine was Fred. You know, on the lower trail, where if you go back right there where it starts to curve, and you got that little clearing spot right there.
Yeah.
I had mine back that way. This is one of the times I was camping back there, and this is the audio I picked up from off of there. Now, to me, I labeled it or titled it "Continuous Tree Knocking" on this one particular sound. Oh wait, maybe I shared the whole playlist to you guys, or maybe I didn't. I don't know, but yeah, you'll have to look at it and check it out. But it was I don't know, it was different because at that time there was. I
Was it
do
like
recall there was no one camping around there, and
was it 55 seconds long?
let me see if I can. I don't know if you got.
The one I
This
got,
one here is
number 7.
yeah, you're right, 55 seconds long.
Yeah, that's what I'm listening to now.
This one here, yeah, it's under my name, Daniel 7, continuous tree knocking, or at least I thought it was tree knocking. It could have been something different.
Let me back that up because I heard some knocking here.
And the tough thing is with
Yeah,
sound,
if you look,
the tough thing is with sound, especially when you're in the woods. There's a lot of distortion
yeah,
and stuff bounces off of things. I know I've had it a couple of times where I've been out hunting with buddies of mine, and I thought I heard a shot way off in the distance to my right, and they come in from my left and go, "Hey, I just bagged out a deer. You want to help me drag it out?" And they were way off in the distance to my left because things bounce off of hills and mountains. That's why audio is a really, really tough thing.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's just I mean, some of the things you could tell, that they're somewhat nearby, but then again, you can hear. I got things you could clearly tell that they're way, way off in the distance. Like some of my howls. I got a couple of them that are like way, they're, I don't know. You can tell that they're distant, but because I mean, my audio recorder does pick up long range. I mean, I'm impressed by that one. I mean, it does pick up a long ways. But yeah, some of them you can tell are pretty close. But
And I think part of it, I think some of it too is I think you have to be I think you have to be careful who you run things by, what people, who you run things by.
right.
You could, if I was involved in paranormal research for a short amount of time, but like the Bigfoot thing, some people that are involved in the paranormal, everything is a ghost. So
Yeah.
you could say I sent it to the Jason Hawes and Grant from Ghost Hunters, and they thought I had something. Well, they think everything they find is something. So are they
Yeah.
really the best sources? I mean, and then if you send it to 10 people and 5 say I think it's good and 5 say I think it's bad, you're not necessarily going to mention the 5 people who thought it could be anything. You're going to mention the 5 that thought it was something Bigfooty or paranormal related. So that's why
Yeah.
peer review I think is a good thing. It's to me, put it out there and then see what everybody thinks, and then take the majority's opinion. What do you think this is? And if
Ghost hunting is the same as Bigfooting. You need to debunk first.
yeah, but the thing is with ghost hunters and a lot of those ghost shows, and I've mentioned this before. Same with a lot of the Bigfoot shows. Those shows are meant to sell commercial time.
Entertainment.
Well,
Entertainment, exactly.
exactly. I'm not just talking about the shows. I'm talking about us people in general. You need to debunk first. I have things that go on around here. My family's been on this property 100 years. My mom and daddy have passed.
Yeah.
I'm in my mom and daddy's house.
Yeah.
Horrible, scary, terrible things, but little odd things and cans falling off the shelf in the pantry, or
Yep.
odd men things. And just for us regular people, debunk first, and then if you don't come up with anything, then maybe it was grandma.
Yeah. Well,
But every picture you take with an orb in it isn't grandmama.
No, but you have to think of everything. Like I have a set of stairs in my house that lead from the first floor up to the second floor, and for some reason, the way they are, I could walk upstairs and come back downstairs, and usually within like 10 or 15 minutes, you can hear the stairs popping. It must just be the way the wood's settling, and it sounds like somebody's walking down the stairs. Now I know just the way the stairs are, the way they're built. But if I was to move and somebody was to move into my house and they happen to be a ghost enthusiast, then, oh my God, the house is haunted. They would get an audio. Hear the stairs? They wouldn't think, well, it could just be the stairs settling because they have ghosts in their mind. So that's the kind of things that I was talking about earlier about like things we have to be careful for. You can't always have Bigfoot on the brain because then I think you're not you're too biased. I think. I just think you're too biased. You always have to think could be somebody else. If somebody said I heard noises out way, way, way off in the distance, but there was nobody camping. Well, if it was way, way off in the distance, how do you know there's nobody camping way, way off in the distance? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We have to be
I
careful
agree.
about setting up the situation too, though. If you take somebody into an area, that's just like if I come to your house because you think there's some activity or something or another, I've already set myself up for the perceiving that there is a ghost or something. And it's the same way with Bigfoot. If you take somebody out and you tell them this is an area where we've had, I can take somebody in the woods and I can prime them to where as soon as they walk in, they'll be looking at every little snap and twig and going, oh, it's a Sasquatch. They're coming here. Oh my God. And, I mean, it's easy to do.
Exactly.
But now to take somebody in and it's sterile, there's no, they have no idea what's going on is the best. I mean, because then you have things that happen for real, legitimate. I had a father and son. He came with his two boys. They came up to sit with me at the fire. They knew I was into Bigfoot. And so I took the oldest boy, and me and him went walking down the road while the father and his youngest son sat by the fire. Well, they had a rock thrown at them. And when I come back, me and the oldest boy come back, that was the first thing they said. They come up and go, we had a rock thrown at us. We had a rock thrown at us. Well, what they didn't know was that I had left an audio recorder sitting in the camp, and it captured every bit of it, and they had a rock thrown at them. So, I mean, not only did I have, the eyewitness account, but then I had the audio to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't hear them go, okay, let's tell him that we had a rock thrown at us. They weren't doing that. No, it was totally caught off guard. The rock, you hear it come through the trees, it lands on the ground, and the little boy picks it up and walks over to his dad and said, you just stole a rock? And his dad's like, a rock? And so you can take somebody into it. If you're taking them with the impression that you're going to Bigfoot, and even if you take groups, I took a group and into one of the areas where there's nothing. I mean, nada. and they swear they could hear something walking around our camp. There wasn't nothing walking around camp. The reporters didn't catch anything.
The thing that the example that I use is that if you go to a haunted house, like a haunted house attraction, it's not a haunted house, it's people dressed up in costume on Halloween, you're preparing yourself to be scared. You know you're going to be scared. You know there's going to be people jumping out at you, blah. So you're going to react differently than you normally would. So if you say, I'm taking you into the woods, oh my God, it's full of Sasquatch. Everything that happens is going to be Sasquatch. Like if you go to a haunted house and you're preparing yourself in your mind to be scared, the silliest thing could happen, but you're going to jump and you're going to scream because in your mind you've prepared yourself to be scared by this house attraction. That's the thing I think we have to be aware of and avoid.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm typing something in here for everyone to see. It's referring to one of the individuals on the panel. I wasn't going to share it because I don't think it would be right to share it, but it's related to what Paul was saying, and it made me think of this very point. Hold on. Hold on. I'm misspelling everything here. Hold on. But there's still some. It's a. Hold on. There it is. It's in regards to what Paul was saying, and Fred, you could probably recall this.
Okay.
That's why I thought it was more appropriate to share it here instead of I don't want to put no one on the spot. I mean, does that make sense? Like with what kind of going along with what you were saying, Paul, as far as how everyone's kind of a lot. I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people, I guess it's all about having Sasquatch on the mind, and that's where they automatically assume that this was done by something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I done chilled out over the years. Oh, believe me, I done chilled out.
Yeah, Freddie. When I first started, kind of, talking to Freddie, he was definitely on a different plateau than everybody else.
Yeah,
But now, I also found out that that hunters do actually use sticks to mark trails and to mark areas where they hunt. And again, you have to find out what it is. Most hunters, use a particular mark, but then there are some that use thumbtacks or ribbon. I mean, all of them have those, characteristics. So you have to, when you look at evidence, you have to really scrutinize it. There's one picture I sent Daniel, a log up in a tree. And
oh yeah, let me try to find that.
This log, let me just tell you, this log. Now, if you can show me how anyone can recreate this scenario, I would love it, because for one thing, it was out of place because it's a pine log, and the second thing is that that pine log is about 20 foot long, and it's wedged into one side of the fork. And then I want you to look at what the other side is supported by. It's not supported by that forked tree. It's supported by a little sapling.
And
It's
like you say,
sapling.
Because it doesn't even look like there's no pine trees around that area. Just judging by this
picture.
No,
it's all hardwoods. Yeah, it's all hardwoods. That's in Waterloo. This is where I found the nest, but this tree is 15 feet off the ground.
Oh wow!
And so there's no, we took measurements. We took pictures from every angle. We tried to find the source of the tree. We couldn't find the source. Somebody said, "Oh, deer hunters put that up to skin their deer on." Again, look at the right side, the narrow part of the that's the top of the log. If you look, you'll see it's supported by that sapling that's coming up. It's kind of crooked. Yeah, that's what's supporting it, that little sapling right there. Yeah. It's not being supported by that forked tree. And so that had to be wedged down in there pretty hard, because it's 20 foot long. I mean, it's and we didn't see it during the summer, because the leaves are on the trees. But during the winter, you could see that thing for a long way, because the leaves dropped off the trees, and there it was. Just now, could that have, could a tornado drop that log down? Well, yeah, anything's possible. But would it have stayed? I mean, why didn't, if it hit that fork, why didn't it, when it fell on over, when it hit that sapling, why didn't it just break that sapling in half?
Right, because that looks like, I mean, for me personally, judging just by appearance and looking at that, that's not that. I mean, yeah, pine's not a heavy wood, but the size of that shows me that this got some weight to it. So yeah, why didn't, even if the wind, like you said, a tornado that landed from a tornado, that should have had enough force to drop past that small sapling limb right there.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I find that odd, because I know one of the things that you never normally see in the woods are 90-degree angles. You
And that
usually
one there
never
is,
see 90-degree angles in the woods. If I see them, I look, and it's like there's usually a person involved. It's a tree stand or something that somebody did. If I see something off in the distance and it's a perfect 90-degree angle, people were involved. See, that I find odd.
and you could just about
Oh,
put a level on top of that, and it's level. I mean, it's amazing.
is there any way to tell how long it's been there?
No, there's
I
no
mean,
way to
by this
tell how long
expression,
it's
yes,
been
it
there.
is old, but um, if it's just kind of up against and balancing on the smaller,
Well, now the one thing I
yeah,
found that was very unusual about it is, Brady, look how clean that thing is. There's not a stick on it nowhere.
no, yeah,
I would almost think it came out of the water. That would be my thought, because it is so clean and looks pretty pristine and shiny that it came out of the water somewhere. That looks like something like a log you drag out of the water.
Well, now there is a
and
lot of
how
water nearby.
That's odd. Yeah, I find that's odd. I would wonder about that. Because, yeah, I can see
how
where it doesn't go through the fork of the tree to the right. Like,
No, it doesn't.
it's sitting on a little tree branch, like that. Why wouldn't that have fallen? Yeah, I find that one strange. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Awesome
It
how
is
high
interesting.
stuff.
how high from the ground did you say it was, Paul?
15 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, because even if somebody was on the ground, and the judging, the length of that log sitting up there, even if somebody threw that up there, they had just so happened to get lucky it's pinned that way. But then again, I think it would have took more than one person to throw something like that up there, if that was the
You
case.
you'd have to have a heavy piece of equipment to pick it up.
Oh, and it's on the side of the hill.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's
No
very
equipment.
unlikely.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's strange. Yeah,
Hmm. Very
Yes,
interesting.
I would
very
definitely take note
strange.
of that one. That would be something I would take note of. Like I said, I'm not one to just disregard everything out of hand. That would be something I would take note of. Yeah,
Very cool.
interesting.
Well, we got roughly around about 15, 20 minutes left. Um, as far as researchers, we've been talking about researcher and various different evidence. One thing I want to go across the panel, and as far as researchers go, I'll I'm gonna start with Corey, then go to Fred, and even Lael, you can speak on how you want it. Like I don't know. This question is more for research, but if there's anything you wanted to say about it, that's cool. But I know Corey, you go out and research when you're able to, right?
Uh, Basically, when I get sighting reports, I do
Yeah.
revisit areas that have had sighting reports. But to go out regularly,
Okay.
no, because where I am, I'm in Massachusetts, and we don't have a ton
Yeah.
of sighting reports. So if I've gotten a sighting report, there's a few areas, October Mountain State Forest, I've been out to because there's been a couple of sighting reports over the years. The Hockomock Swamp, that I think I mentioned before, that's known for Sasquatch activity. Those places I will go, but it's mainly there was a sighting report from here, and I'll go investigate. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, because I think you kind of answered the question that I was going to ask everyone. Basically, I was going to ask, why do you research? And basically, so in other words, is it safe to say that basically you do it to investigate reports and stuff, and plus
I
probably I'm sure to find.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't have a regular. Well, I guess if you could say if I had any regular area that I investigate, I guess it would probably be the Hockomock Swamp. If you have a chance, look around online. It's in an area called the Bridgewater Triangle. It's something that Lauren Coleman
Okay.
wrote about, and it's a catch-all for cryptids, paranormal ghosts, and Bigfoot and UFOs and the whole thing. But in this
Hmm.
area of the Hockomock Swamp, which is the largest um, nature area, or one of the largest protected nature areas in Massachusetts, that would be one of my regular ones. But it's normally, I would hear about a report from a certain area and go investigate. So I don't
Right.
necessarily have a regular spot that I hit over and over and over again. But like I said, we've there's been a couple of sighting reports from a state park, October Mountain State Forest. There was a couple of sighting reports over the years. A few years back, I've been out there a few times. So it's basically like, well, geez, I haven't been out to October Mountain for a while. So let me go camping there for a few days and do an investigation. Or the Hockomock Swamp, which actually now that the season's coming around, the camping season, I'd actually like to get out there a little bit more and do a little bit of camping. I've done some solo overnights in that area. So I'd like to try to hit that a little bit more. But yeah, I get sighting reports, I go check them out, and then I'll go back periodically and check them out again.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Mr. Fred Canny, how about you? Tell us and share with the viewers why you do your research.
I do it to learn
I think he froze.
because the way
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I do it to learn because I mean, every time I go out in the woods, I'm always learning something new. That's the main fact that I go out and research, and it by studying what I see. Like I said, when I take and go out in the woods, I look at structures, I observe them, I touch them. I mean, I dissect them more or less, and that teaches me. You like their directionals. You got I found directionals that took me to a water hole. Found them took me to a day bed and birthing areas and stuff like that. And it teaches me. It teaches me uh, about what they're doing. That's about the simplest way I can put it.
Hmm. All right. So yeah, you go out to learn, basically to learn for yourself as well, pretty much, right? And then you're kind of like me. You go out to learn, and you want to share what you learn.
That's basically what it's come to. I mean, when I first got into it, man, you can ask Paul. I was gung ho. I was trying. I was doing every off the wall thing I could but there's one thing I still do, and I've noticed it. I do something odd or do something wild or weird that draw the curiosity of the Sasquatch, like the juveniles, because my area is because I got birthing beds. I see more juvies than I do anything else, and curiosity is is what um, is what drives them to keep on seeing what I'm going to do next. And when I see them, I acknowledge them and I walk away. But it teaches me what they do, how they use their stealth techniques to sneak up on me, and that teaches me, and that's what I learned from. So that's about basically it, I
Hmm.
reckon.
Okay. Now, the next one on the panel, on my view, is Lael. Lael, are you there? It
Yep,
looks like
I'm
she
here. I've
froze.
been
Oh,
muting
there's
myself.
okay. Oh,
Um,
okay, it's all right. Well, yeah, I'm trying to think of the best way to ask you. I mean, as far as you do research in a way. I mean, you're curious about knowing the truth and what's out there, and I mean, is
I
that
watch a
safe to
lot.
say?
I
I mean,
read
is
a
that
lot. Yeah, I watch a lot. I read a lot. I've always been interested in it. Um, the places I have lived in my life. I'm in Beaufort County, and there are no recorded sightings in Beaufort County, but there are above me and below me and all to the west. I did live in the mountains 15 years. I lived in Watauga County. Watauga County has no reported sightings. But Ashe and Avery County, above and below, have a ton. Um, And so I've never actively gone out looking, seeking. Like I say, I was, raised playing in the woods and going hunting with my daddy and my sister and stuff. But it's just always been interesting to me. And so I read what I can read, and I listen to different people and their different opinions and their different experiences. And I'm going to have my first experience on the first weekend of May.
I'm gonna have
when
fun.
I go camping.
Yeah, let's definitely hope so. We do. I mean, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I hope we get something happen next weekend. So. Oh no, I was just saying I hope we get something going on next weekend. We'll be out there like I said, the weekend of the 25th. So yeah, I mean the area is very promising, along with the activity that I've heard about from the people that reported it. So let's hope there is a curious, very bold Squatch that shows up around our camp. And I mean we're gonna be doing some hiking and exploring. Oh, absolutely. So. I mean, if they come around, if they get active at night, if they come within view, I mean, hopefully my night vision camcorder, my binocular will pick it up. So, or my FLIR, one or the other. But so,
that would be super.
We'll see how that goes. Yeah, but as far as the FLIR goes, I've heard people say FLIRs are not really the best evidence. I mean, yeah, it's good at finding things that are hiding, maybe in the bushes or something that a night vision won't pick up, which is good, But the night vision I have, it's pretty clear, and so hopefully that might work. I'll have both of them at work. So yeah.
Well, my thing is
that one does, maybe the other does.
My thing with the FLIR is that we've all heard the term blob squatch.
Yeah.
When people started using the FLIR in Bigfoot research, my whole thought was, great. Now you have glow-in-the-dark blob squatches. So,
right.
And I've known people that have spent $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on these things. And okay, you have a video of something indiscriminate in the woods that's glowing. To me, buy yourself a really good video camera that does night shot, and see if that's any better or any more advantageous. I mean, the FLIR thing is cool. I think it's a really cool idea, but are you going to get really anything definitive out of it after spending all sorts of money on it?
Yeah. Yeah. For example, I'll screenshot a picture of. Yeah. Hold on, give me a second.
Because what is it? Is it the Stacy Brown? Is that his name? Stacy Brown? That his FLIR thing, and that the whole thing that got him on TV, the Bigfoot bounty thing, and okay, that could be Pee Wee Herman running through the woods. To me, it's not definitive enough, and to spend that kind of money, to me, I think it's, to me, try to find what's the best video camera that shoots in the dark, that you can get the best
right.
Getting good buy that instead.
Yeah, but what happens if you don't have the money for it, though?
Then you just don't.
No, he's saying if you've got enough money to buy a $4,000 FLIR, that you're just going to get a blob out in the woods. Now that's a good one.
All right, well, think about.
But now
this is
instead of buying a FLIR,
this is a still
really
shot from one of the FLIR videos. This is my
camera with the same amount of money. Go ahead, Daniel. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's showing a FLIR shot over on.
When I was doing a test.
Yeah.
No, this is my area. This is my father right here.
Oh, okay.
He was my test subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad was my test subject in this video.
Now with that, you posted that on YouTube and said, I caught Bigfoot on my FLIR camera.
Yeah, a lot of people believe it, but that's not what I would do though. I'm not that,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's like I said. To me, it just I don't like things. I don't like equipment and tools used in Bigfoot research that can be left open to interpretation, and that interpretation is usually
right,
left open to the people that actually got it. I could say that could be a person. No, it's a Bigfoot. Well, you're a Bigfooter, so of course you're going to think it's a Bigfoot. I'm not being critical
right,
or
right,
hateful toward you. It's just to me, wouldn't it be better to have at that distance, as far away as you are, uh, 20 yards, a video camera that does really good night shots? Sony makes some stuff that works great in complete darkness.
right.
And you know what, Daniel? It even looks like he's got a little bit of a cone head. Did he have a hat on?
I think Dad did have a hat on in this video, so yeah,
But his arms are too short.
yeah.
His arms are too short.
Now,
But
now when he
yeah,
walks it,
go ahead.
if you watch the whole video, when he comes over on the side of the road, it's kind of like a mound, a slight mound over here. So it's weird the way he steps up. He does look like he's like the famous image of a Squatch giving this little walk, but well, Dad's got bad knees and everything, so yeah, it was a little challenge for him to get up that little mound, and then he got behind a tree to kind of see what it looked like if there was something hiding behind a tree. So, but yeah, this we were like I said, this is on my list on YouTube, one of my FLIR field videos. I was just experimenting, playing around. So, and that's all this is. So
But so
that's why I make sure everyone understands.
to me,
Go
what
ahead.
I
I'm
would
sorry.
do, I would submit this to some Bigfoot group on Facebook and say this was,
Right.
give a different name. This was sent to us by Bob. He shot this Bigfoot with his FLIR, and post it and send it to them. They'll post it on YouTube, and then look at the comments. Yes, it looks exactly like what I saw. Oh my God, that's a Bigfoot. Then let a few
Right.
pile up, and then come back and go, no, this is I'm Daniel Benoit. I shot this. That's my dad.
Right.
Show people that people will fall for anything and buy anything when it comes to Bigfoot. I think
Well,
that would
I
be a
did
good experiment.
Well, actually, I'll tell you one experiment I've done before in the past, and a lot of people trying to tell me, "Look at the Bigfoot! Look, you can see him right there in the bushes." I went up into the yard and went up to a close cluster of these cedar trees that lines that separates our yard to our neighbors, and I just got up, because if you get close enough, cedar trees with the way they're thick and stuff, and they're next to each other, it was forming shadows and everything. So I got in, I took the picture, at probably within 5, 6, 7 feet, whatever. Took the picture, cropped it a little bit, made it smaller, and I posted it. Didn't say nothing. And I was getting all this stuff like, man, look, you can see a face here. You can say this here. Man, people are making circles and everything. I said, wow, this is unbelievable. And this is just a picture of a bush where you can see right to the base of, yeah, you can see the base of the tree and everything.
Yeah.
That's how, I'm sorry, but that's how gullible a lot of people are in the field. or enthusiasts or whatever you want to call them.
And I've seen people do that.
Right.
I've seen post stuff that they I guess you could say hoaxed, just to see what people's reaction would be. And they waited for the comments to pile up. And oh my God, it's a Bigfoot! Oh my God, it's a Bigfoot! Yeah, I can see a face. Here's 3 more in the background, and they've come back and said, "Look, this is me. I shot this picture in my backyard." And then people said, "No, you're lying. You're covering up. You're with the government." So no, I've seen it a couple of times. So that's kind of what we're dealing with when it comes to the whole Bigfoot thing, because some people just want to believe so badly. I don't understand why, but they want to believe so badly that they'll believe anything that you show them. So that's why I think when you have people that have followers like well, I won't mention any names, but when you have people that have followers, well, she's got 50 people that think she's right. Well, yeah, but you could post anything and you're going to get some people that are going to buy it. But you should
Yeah.
do that. You should take that video, submit it to somebody anonymously. We got this video. Bob, sent us this video of a Bigfoot. He was driving down the road. He had a FLIR camera mounted on the car, the trunk of his car, and he got this video of a Bigfoot. And he's collected 37 accounts of Bigfoot in this area, and see
Don't
what
do it.
pile up. That would be an interesting show to do.
No, you do it, then everybody would. The last thing a researcher wants to do is discredit himself in any shape, form, or fashion. And if you try to pull one over on people's eyes, then they're going to just, everything you do from then on is going to be BS.
Labeled as, yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, I'm going to get off here because it's late. But anyway, the reason why I do what I do is not because I'm trying to prove anything, because I never will be able to try to prove anything to anybody.
Right.
But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to understand how they live the way they do. You know, how do they survive without, you know, the things that we have to have? You know, there's just something about it. I'm into the history in the state and other states, and it's been going on way before the Patterson-Gimlin film. You know, we're talking it's, you know, going back as far as when the Vikings came over to this country. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I'm into it for.
I
Now, as
like
far
the
as
history
me trying
too.
to prove anything to you, I'm not going to be able to prove anything to you. And I really don't care if you believe me or not. I know what I know because of what I've done and what I've achieved. But the reason why I spend the gas and the money and on equipment, on stuff like that, is not to post a video on YouTube or to try and prove or convince somebody that what I have is real. I do it for myself. It's just like bass fishing. And you know what? I don't care if you like to fish or not. I like to do it, and I'm gonna keep doing it. And one day, if they do come out and say, you know, well, it's been confirmed, we have this, fantastic, because you know what happened? There'll be people that'll say, hey, I know a guy that used to do that, and he was for real. But you know, I'm no longer used to be. I had a YouTube channel, I had a podcast, I did all this kind of stuff because I wanted to prove to people what was out there. And I'm just here to tell you, you can get the best quality night vision, you can get the best quality video camera, and you can get one 10 feet away from you. And unless you're able to lay that one body in front of a news crew, ain't nobody gonna believe you.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
See, we're on the same page with that. When I talk to people that are just getting involved in this, I always tell them, I said, you have to figure out, what do you want to do? Do you just want to know for yourself that they exist?
Tell them, don't do it.
Or do you want to try to prove it to the world at large? To me, I just want to know for myself. I go out and have an experience. I see something. I know it's not obviously a dude in a suit. Okay, cool. Now I know that it exists. I'll go off and do something else. I'll go investigate Loch Ness. But that's the problem. We have too many people getting involved in this that I want to shoot video, I want to do audio, I want to have a bunch of pictures, I want to do a YouTube channel. But everybody I think is guilty of that at first. I was like that myself at first. But then I just realized that, I just want to know for me. I just want to know for me.
I'm kind of like that too. I just want to know for me. Although I'm scared, I still want to go and see what I can see.
Yeah. I tell you what, regardless if you see a Sasquatch or not, as far as I'm concerned, every time you're out in the woods, like what the best way Fred puts it, well, quote me on this, Fred, I may be saying this wrong, let your senses go. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
let your senses go and open up. Just relax. Just enjoy nature. And all at the same time, be observant. Use your eyes and your ears, and just take the time, take it all in. And a lot of times, that's all I do. And one way or another, you'll learn something about nature in itself. You'll observe your. Sometimes you're fortunate to observe the known wildlife. I'm out in the woods a lot. I don't always see wildlife out there because a lot of times a lot of our own known wildlife is pretty elusive. I mean, yeah, I've walked up on deer quite a few times, but it's not often. Sometimes they're on higher ground, depending on time of year, and et cetera, et cetera. But
But
I mean,
is there really any bad time spent in the woods?
no, I enjoy it every time. A lot of
You,
times I like going
Yeah.
by myself.
whether it's watching or camping or hiking or fishing. I mean, I've had
Right.
very few bad times. You're out in the woods. Enjoy yourself. Have a good time.
Yeah. I mean, I make sure I do. I mean, a lot of times if I'm out if I plan on camping, I do a little bit of hiking and exploring in certain areas, but a lot of times I make sure I get myself settled and relaxed, especially towards the evening, because where I camp at, I've gotten activity all around me, right across from camp. Just like in Fred's area, I like hanging out at camp with because you hear everything right there. I mean, you got the hollows, you got and the ridges around you where vocalizations they bounce off the ridges around you, and you hear everything you right there. I mean, you hear the coyotes sounding off at night. I woke up to hearing coyotes at 7 o'clock in the morning. You know, and you hear the owls, mainly at night, but sometimes you hear them in the daytime. But I love hearing the wildlife at night because when the lights go out, it's when the forest becomes alive. So, but
Yep.
tell you what, everybody, we're gonna go ahead jump off here. We had a great show tonight. We had a great discussion, and viewers, if you have not done so already, if go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and that way when we go live, sometimes we post shows without notice. So, but if you subscribe, you'll get the notification when we jump live. So, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
To the home of the hillbilly. Yeah, baby, it's a land of barbed wire and moonshine whiskey. Park your car, get stirred, go and grab your beer and get on up in the truck. It's going down tonight. All we need is BYOB and alcohol we need.